Chapter 2181 Impact the Half-Step Sevenfold Ancestor. Open black lens bracket seeking full order close black lens bracket. The Daozu Mantuo and the others left, and Yi Tian and the other Daozu began to attack the dark blue stone tree. Boom! Under repeated attacks, the dark blue stone tree was finally cracked, and drops of dark blue stone liquid flowed out. According to the agreed equal division, a Taoist said. Yi Tian nodded without refuting. Although he is the strongest right now, he had already agreed to divide it equally, then it would be divided equally. Moreover, he doesn't know much about the dark ancient nest, and if he does not follow Xuanqing Daozu and the others, he will not gain much. Soon, all the dark blue stone liquid in this dark blue stone tree was divided, and Yi Tian harvested more than 300 drops of dark blue stone liquid. Xuanqing Daozu and the others have harvested dark blue stone liquid, and they are in a good mood. After all, not every time they enter here, they can harvest dark blue stone liquid. If it is unfortunate, then a drop of dark blue stone liquid is also obtained. Let's go somewhere else. Xuanqing Daozu led the way to other places. Next, Yi Tian and the others found a dark blue stone tree, and after fighting with other Taoist ancestors, they occupied this dark blue stone tree. There are hardly any powerful half-step sevenfold ancestors in this area, because the powerful half-step sevenfold ancestors have all left. Therefore, even if his current strength is not invincible, he can still be ranked in the top 10. As time passed, Yi Tian and the others snatched 6 dark blue stone trees in total, but they did not find any dark blue stone trees after that. The time is almost up, let's go look for the golden branch virtual fruit tree, that is also the harvest. Xuanqing Daozu suggested. They don't need golden branches and virtual fruit trees, but they can leave it to their younger generation. It didn't take long for Yi Tian and the others to find a golden branch virtual fruit tree, but the golden branch virtual fruit on this golden branch virtual fruit tree had already been picked. Let's go to another place. There are a lot of primitive relics there, and other Taoist ancestors may not go there. Xuanqing Daozu suggested. If it was before, he didn't dare to hit the idea of the golden branch void fruit tree, but now they have Yi Tian, they have the confidence. After all, Yi Tian's strength is very strong. Sure enough, the golden branch fruit here has not been taken away. Xuanqing Daozu murmured. At this time, there are many primitive antiquities around this golden branch virtual fruit tree, and there are a lot of them, and there are 10 primitive antiquities comparable to the half-step sevenfold primitive ancestor level. I will stop them, and you will take away the golden branches and fruit. Yi Tian suggested. It is good, Xuanqing Daozu and the others responded. Immediately, Yi Tian went directly to fight these primitive relics. The primitive ancient relics shrouded in the endless black domain, combined with the power of the endless Yuan Dao, tried their best to suppress them, and the war broke out. These primitive antiquities kept besieging Yi Tian, but with Yi Tian's strength, they resisted with their own strength, and they continued to kill each primitive antiquity. Xuanqing Daozu and the others did not hesitate. After all, Yi Tian had resisted most of the pressure. If they still couldn't snatch away the golden branches, they would be useless. Boom! Many Taoist ancestors took action, and it didn't take long for them to take away the golden branch virtual fruit on the golden branch virtual fruit tree one by one. Endless Daozu, you can retreat. Xuanqing Daozu preached the message. Swish! Yi Tian quickly retreated and left with Xuanqing Daozu. Out! Yi Tian and Xuanqing Daozu both came out of the dark ancient nest. It's not that they don't want to continue searching for treasure resources, but they don't dare to stay any longer. Because the dark ancient nest has suppressed them, and the number of primitive relics inside the dark ancient nest is increasing, and very powerful primitive relics have also appeared. Continue to stay, those weaker half-step 7th level ancestors will all be killed, even the powerful half-step 7th level ancestors may not last long. So, they are all chosen. Afterwards, they quickly returned to the district boundary. Taikuyuan area boundary. Yi Tian came back, and immediately began to retreat and practice. He took out the dark blue stone liquid, and after swallowing and refining, he tempered his body with endless Yuan Dao. This time, he found that the effect of tempering was many times faster. The effect of dark blue stone liquid is too good. Yi Tian was surprised, but if you think about it carefully, it is the first time for him to take the dark blue stone liquid. If the effect is not good, those Taoist ancestors of the half-step 7th level ancestor level will not be so eager for the dark blue stone liquid. This time, Yi Tian has obtained a lot of dark blue stone liquid, and it won't be long before he can break through to the half-step 7th level primordial realm. But once he has broken through to the half-step 7th level ancestor realm, If he wants to continue to improve his cultivation, the speed will be much slower, and there are very few resources here to help him quickly improve his cultivation. At that time, he is afraid that he will have to think about this area. Of course, he will only let one copy body leave, and the other copy bodies are still here. Years go by. Drop by drop of dark bluestone liquid was consumed by Yi Tian, and his body became stronger and stronger. Under the tempering of endless Yuan Dao, his body strength has surpassed those half-step 7-layer ancestors, even the fleshly body of Xuanqing Dao ancestor. Not necessarily stronger than him. The foundation is too strong, and it consumes a lot of resources. If it was someone else, I would have already broken through to the half-step 7th level ancestor realm, but I'm almost exhausting the dark bluestone liquid now, and my cultivation base is still restored. There is no breakthrough to be the half-step 7th level ancestor. Yi Tian murmured. Now he finally knows why those Taoist ancestors who have gathered the 9th level Tao fruit all ran away in the realm of the 6th level original ancestor, because to become the half-step 7th level original ancestor, it consumes too many resources. Even if the breakthrough is successful, it will only break the boundary once. If you want to break the boundary twice, you will need more resources. Who can bear it? In the blink of an eye, tens of millions of yuan eras passed. This day, Yi Tian's dark bluestone liquid was exhausted, and other resources were almost exhausted, finally letting him touch the limit. As long as this boundary is broken, he can become the half-step 7th level ancestor, and his strength will be transformed. Original Black Sea. Yi Tian started to break through, only to see that he directly hit the boundary, breaking the boundary easily. Boom. Warehouse. The cultivation base changed, and the original Black Sea energy of this piece was swallowed up in an instant. The power of the endless Yuan Dao is too domineering, and the energy around it is devoured wildly, causing the original Black Sea energy in the Shangling High Plains area to become thinner. Suddenly, countless primitive ancestors panicked. However, Yi Tian communicated many ancestors, saying that he was breaking through and absorbed these original Black Sea energies, which made those ancestors heave a sigh of relief. The Holy Door of Void Fang. At this time, the holy ancestor Void Fang was very pleasantly surprised. He knew what Yi Tian's breakthrough represented. It must be Yi Tian's breakthrough to the half-step 7th level primordial ancestor realm. I'm about to make a breakthrough. When the time comes to ask the Infinity Dao ancestor for a copy of the Light of Taishuan or the Light of Zishuan, I'll be sure to hit the realm of the 6th layer primordial ancestor. The holy ancestor Void Fang muttered. Chapter 2182 The Boundary of Hanhai District, Xuanyu Pavilion. Open black lens bracket full order close black lens bracket. After a long time, Yi Tian's cultivation base officially broke through and entered the realm of the half-step 7th level ancestor. At this moment, his strength is much stronger than before. With my current strength, I'm afraid it is enough to instantly kill a half-step 7th level ancestor like Xuanqing Daozu. Yi Tian smiled slightly, full of confidence. Subsequently, he took some time to stabilize the realm, and this day, the holy ancestor of the Void Fang has reached the level of impacting the 6th level ancestor, and he has a lot of confidence in impacting the 6th level original ancestor. Therefore, the ancestor of the virtual tooth came to pray for a copy of the Light of Zishuan or the Light of Taishuan. Endless Dao ancestor, I want to attack the realm of the 6th level original ancestor, can you give me the Light of Zishuan or the Light of Taishuan? Holy ancestor Void Fang bent over and pleaded. Yes, but there is only one copy. If you fail, unless you take out the treasure in exchange for the light of the purple profound light in the future, you will not be able to exchange the light of the purple profound light. Yi Tian solemnly reminded him that he would not always give the holy ancestor Void Fang. There is only one copy of the purple profound light, and failure will not be given in vain. If he gave it all in vain, he would not be able to use more resources. After all, with the meaning of giving it for free, the holy ancestor of the Void Fang will not cherish it, and will attack wildly. If others do the same in the future, it will be messed up. Thank you for the endless 140 Daozu. The ancestor of the virtual tooth was very excited and quickly thanked him. Immediately, he took a Light of Zishuan light from Yi Tian's hand, and then went back to retreat to attack the realm of the 6th level ancestor. From Yi Tian's point of view, even if holy ancestor Void Fang had made a lot of preparations, the hope of a successful breakthrough was only 50%, although it was already a high success rate. However, with bad luck, he still can't break through. Not long after, good news came. The holy ancestor of Void Fang successfully broke through to the realm of the 6th layer primitive ancestor, became a Taoist ancestor, and soon joined the Taiku Taoist alliance. Ascension to the Holy Door. At this moment, the holy ancestor of the spirit is very envious of the Taoist Void Fang. Once upon a time, the Void Fang Taoist was far less powerful than me. As a result, there was an endless Taoist ancestor from the Void Fang Holy Gate. The endless Taoist gave some resources, and the Void Fang Shungman rose directly, giving birth to a large number of 5 original ancestors. Just even the ancestor of the virtual tooth has rapidly improved his strength, and soon surpassed me, and now he has reached the sky in one step, and has entered the 6th level ancestor. The ancestors of Shangling sighed endlessly, thinking that if Yi Tian was their disciple of the holy sect, how wonderful it would be. Then he can also be dipped in CJFJ, maybe he is now a Taoist ancestor of the 6th level ancestor level. In the blink of an eye, another period of time passed. The progress of the cultivation base is too slow, and it is far from reaching the second limit. Yi Tian frowned. If there is no resource to cultivate, just relying on the endless Yuan Dao to slowly temper, the effect is really too slow. This day, Yi Tian called Han Zan. Master, Han Zan said respectfully. Teacher, do you know what's going on at the other end of the Truncation mountain range? Yi Tian asked. He has almost confirmed Han Zan's identity now. After all, there are only so many Taoist ancestors in the Tongtian Yuan area, and Han Zan's strength is definitely not weak, at least the realm above the 6th level peak original ancestor. Taking it all together, Han Zan's identity became clear. If he guessed correctly, Han Zan should be one of the 3.5 step 7 level ancestors of the Tongtian Yuan region, Daozu Bingxuan, and he left the region for a long time and passed the half step of the cutoff mountain range. Step 7 original ancestors. But in the end, Daozu Bingxuan should have come back again, and he was still reincarnating and reincarnated silently, and all this could not be concealed from Daozu Xuanqing and other Daozu. Therefore, the original ancestor who knew the most about the other end of the Truncate mountain range must belong to Han Zan. When Han Zan saw Yi Tian asking about the situation of cutting off the other end of the mountain range, she knew that her identity could not be concealed. So, she stopped hiding. Master, you must have guessed it, I am indeed Daozu Bingxuan. I left this area a long time ago, passed through the truncated mountain range, and entered another world, where it is called it as the boundary of the Hanhai district. The boundary of the Hanhai district is the boundary of the large area, which has hundreds of thousands of small boundaries. That piece of heaven and earth is too big, and the half-step 7th level ancestor is nothing. Even if you become the 7th level ancestor, you can only become a small overlord in the vast sea area. Only by becoming the half-step 8th level ancestor can be ranked at the pinnacle level of the boundary of the vast sea area. Since you went to the vast sea region, why did you come back here? Even if you want to reincarnate and retrain, wouldn't it be better to reincarnate in the vast sea region? The cultivation environment there must be better. Yi Tian was a little puzzled about this, and did not understand why his apprentice made such a choice. However, Han Zan smiled bitterly. Master, I also want to reincarnate in the realm of the vast sea, but the treasure of reincarnation I obtained was stolen and offended a major power. If it is reincarnated in the vast sea, that big power has a way to find it. There are too many methods in the vast sea region, and it is far less comparable here. Even if they reincarnate and rebuild and abandon everything, they can find me from the treasure of reincarnation. Although I have been reincarnated, it has just begun. The breath of the treasure of reincarnation could not be concealed, so I could not escape. Therefore, I fled back here as soon as possible. Cutting off the Black Mountain not only cut off the silent Black Sea, but also cut off all exploration, so they did not know that I was back here. After returning, I was reincarnated as soon as possible, and even if they did find them, it would have been a long time before they would have been exposed. I see. Yi Tian understood it completely. Master, are you going to the boundary of the vast sea? Han Zan asked. Yes. Yi Tian didn't hide it and nodded slightly. At this time, Han Zan took out a token. Master, if you go to the boundary of the vast sea, you can use this token to join a force in the boundary of the vast sea, Xuanyu Pavilion. Xuanyu Pavilion, what kind of power is this? Yi Tian asked. Han Zan introduced. Xuanyu Pavilion is a loose force in the Hanhai district, but its strength is not weak. For newcomers who have just arrived in the Hanhai district, the Xuanyu Pavilion is definitely one of the best choices. There is a lack of geniuses and evildoers. Of course, geniuses like Master who have comprehended Zhouzhong Yuandao are still lacking. However, geniuses of unknown origin are not accepted by many major forces. It is too difficult to join a powerful force, but Xuanyu Pavilion is one of the easiest powers to join. The Xuanyu Pavilion has a total of 1/2 step 8th level ancestor, hundreds of 7-level ancestors, and tens of thousands of half-step 7-level ancestors. If the master joins the Xuanyu Pavilion, you can avoid many detours. And disciple, I used to be a member of Xuanyu Pavilion. This token is a member order that I purchased with points for reincarnation. It can allow an outsider to enter Xuanyu Pavilion. Master directly holds it and can become Xuanyu Pavilion, a member of the Jade Pavilion. When the disciples go to the boundary of the Hanhai district in the future, the master can introduce the disciples to enter. 1. Okay, then I'll take it. Yi Tian accepted this profound Jade Pavilion member order. Chapter 2183 Star Ancient Giant City. Open black lens bracket full order close black lens bracket. Yi Tian chatted with his apprentice Han Zan for a long time, and gradually got to know the boundaries of the vast sea region. Teacher, didn't the Taoist ancestors who went out from here unite? Yi Tian is a little curious. After all, there are many Taoist ancestors from here. Among them, there are many Taoist ancestors who have comprehended the 9th-level primordial path. If they hadn't fallen, they might have achieved half-step 8th-level primordial ancestors. When the time comes, take care of each other, it is also a backer. Han Zan gave a wry smile. Master, who cares if you go to the boundary of the Hanhai district? Although everyone is from this district, they may have been enemies. Going to the boundary of the Hanhai district doesn't feel like home. In the Hanhai district, they are constantly fighting in their own country. Even if they are from the same community, it is normal for each other to be enemies. Right, Yi Tian nodded slightly. Suddenly, Han Zan said, Master, in our region, many Taoist ancestors have fallen. Among them, there are many Taoist ancestors who have comprehended the 9-fold Yuan Dao, but some have grown up. For example, the ancient Taoist ancestors in the primordial plains region are now he is a 7th-level ancestor, and he has become an elder of a power, so he can mix well. But the one who gets the best out of it should belong to the dark ancestor, he is already a half-step 8th-level ancestor. Dark Dao ancestor. This is the first Dao ancestor of the dark zone, right? Yi Tian was surprised. Yes. Han Zan nodded slightly. After the dark Dao ancestor left this area, the dark area boundary was shattered because of a war. But the dark Dao ancestor is not in the vast sea area now, but has gone to a more powerful place. District boundaries. Yi Tian nodded slightly. He did not expect to rely on other Taoist ancestors. Besides, the other Taoist ancestors didn't know him either, they were all strangers. This day, Yi Tian sent a copy of his body to cut off the Black Mountain, this time without notifying anyone. He has several copies of his body, so even if he leaves, other Dao patriarchs cannot know, even Han Zan will think that he has not left. Not long after, Yi Tian came to intercept Montenegro. Truncated Montenegro. Yi Tian stepped into this place alone, and if it was another Taoist ancestor, he didn't dare to do this, it would be courting death. However, with his current strength, he can naturally traverse and sever Montenegro by himself, and those top half-step 7-fold ancestors can also do it. Just like Han Zan's previous life, she did it. As soon as he entered the truncated Black Mountain, Yi Tian encountered many primitive antiquities. He shot directly and killed them one by one. At his speed, he quickly reached the area of the original ancient stone. The dense primordial ancient stones surrounded Yi Tian. Even Yi Tian himself could not kill all these primordial ancient stones, and could only choose to kill them. Endless Mask protects the body, and the Endless Black Domain suppresses these primitive ancient stones. Then, Yi Tian shuttled at an endless speed, and if he intercepted the primitive ancient stone in front of him, he directly killed or blasted it with one blow. It didn't take long for Yi Tian to kill this area. And these primitive ancient stones did not continue to chase and kill, and directly let Yi Tian leave. Obviously, these primitive ancient stones will not easily leave their own territory. At the boundary between the Hanhai district and the cut-off Montenegro, a figure appeared. This figure is Yi Tian impressively. Finally out. Yi Tian looked around, identified the direction, and left directly. There are hundreds of thousands of community boundaries in the Hanhai district, and each community boundary is stronger than the Tongtianyuan district boundary, but the most prosperous place is not these community boundaries but the giant city above the silent Black Sea. That's right, on the boundary of the vast sea, powerful forces have built giant cities in the silent Black Sea, and these giant cities can block the rules of the silent Black Sea. Above the giant city of the silent Black Sea, even if you stay for a long time, you will not provoke a large number of primitive antiquities. Of course, if you leave these giant cities, you will encounter primitive antiquities. The giant city Yi Tian is going to this time is called Xingu Giant City. The reason why he went to this giant city is because a branch of Xuanyu Pavilion is located in this giant city. If he goes directly to the Xingu giant city, he can join the Xuanyu Pavilion. This place is very far from the ancient city of Xingu. If it keeps flying, it will take a long time. During this period, it will encounter many primitive antiquities. Maybe if you are unlucky, you will even encounter primitive antiquities comparable to the sevenfold primitive ancestors. Therefore, if the cultivation base did not reach the 7th level ancestor, he would not dare to stay in the silent Black Sea for a long time. Soon, Yi Tian took a rest in a nearby community, and after a while, he was on his way again. For flowers, after a while, Yi Tian came to the boundary of Xuan district. The Xuan district boundary is similar to a kind of transit area boundary. There are a large number of Taoist gates here, connecting many places. For example, there are many Dao gates connected here in Xingu Giant City. Yi Tian can enter Xingu Giant City directly through the Taoist gates here, no need to hurry in the silent Black Sea. Of course, using the Daomen here requires a little cost, and for Daozu, this cost is not a big deal. Soon, Yi Tian came to the Xingu Giant City through the Daomen. Star Ancient Giant City. After Yi Tian came here through the Taoist gate, he sensed a large number of Taoist ancestors. 0. However, he also felt the breath of some of the 5 ancestors. Although the 5 ancestors cannot enter the silent Black Sea, they can still enter the ancient giant city through the Taoist gate and live here. There are many ordinary jobs in Xingu Giant City, which Taoist ancestors are definitely not willing to do, but those 5 ancestors are willing to do it. There are many opportunities here, so many 5 ancestors are willing to come here to try. There is a special reason why the Star Ancient Giant City has spent so much resources to build a giant city here. Near the ancient Star City, there are many ancient nests. These ancient nests contain many opportunities. Any ancient nest is no less than the Dark Ancient Nest. Therefore, many Taoist ancestors want to enter these ancient nests to find treasure resources. And the Xingu Giant City is built here, which is convenient for these Taoist ancestors to come and go. Even if they encounter danger, they can escape into the Xingu Giant City in time. With the power of the ancient Star City, even the half-step 8th level original ancestor may not be able to break through. Certainly, living in the ancient city of Xingu has to pay, and the accommodation here is very expensive, let alone buying property. But even so, there are still many Taoist ancestors willing to live here. Moreover, the Xingu Giant City is not allowed to fight, and it is very safe to live here, and it is many times safer than living in those communities. Yi Tian paid some fees and obtained a temporary token, which allowed him to live in the ancient Star City for a period of time. Subsequently, Yi Tian came to the Xuanyu Pavilion in the Xingu Giant City to divide the corpse. Chapter 2184 The Original Vine Grass. Open black lens bracket seeking full order close black lens bracket. This is the Xuanyu Pavilion, you are not allowed to enter. A Taoist ancestor of Xuanyu Pavilion appeared and stopped Yi Tian. At this time, Yi Tian took out the membership order of Xuanyu Pavilion. I want to join Xuanyu Pavilion. Hey, member order. The other party was a little surprised. Member orders are very precious, and it takes a lot of points to buy them, and Xuanyu Pavilion's member orders are purchased by Xuanyu Pavilion members themselves, and then they introduce their close relatives or friends to join Xuanyu Pavilion. Basically, after purchasing a membership order, it is quickly used up, and it is difficult to spread it out. Which Taoist ancestor did you introduce? The other party asked curiously. However, Yi Tian would not offer up his disciple, otherwise it would be bad if it would attract the attention of the enemy. So, Yi Tian said, "Wind by accident. Okay, then come in." 140. This Taoist ancestor did not ask too much. After all, it has nothing to do with him. Anyone who has obtained a membership order can join the Xuanyu Pavilion. This is the rule. After all, Xuanyu Pavilion is only a loose force, and there are not so many requirements. Soon, Yi Tian completed the formalities for joining the Xuanyu Pavilion. At this time, a half-step 7th level ancestor named Jin Daozu passed a message to Yi Tian, which contained many information about Xuanyu Pavilion, which could make Yi Tian familiar with Xuanyu Pavilion more quickly. Endless Daozu. After joining the Xuanyu Pavilion, there is usually nothing to do. If you want to exchange the resources of the Xuanyu Pavilion, you need points. As for how to get points, there are above. Jin Daozu left without saying much. And Yi Tian browsed through the information and got a general understanding of Xuanyu Pavilion. Any transaction in Xuanyu Pavilion requires points, and there are many ways to obtain points, such as exchanging your own treasures for points, or accepting tasks. These tasks are all issued by other members, some are for finding treasures, and some are for bounty tasks, such as killing a certain Taoist ancestor. Yi Tian also saw the task of rewarding a 7th level peak ancestor in the task system of Xuanyu Pavilion. However, such a task is difficult, and he should not think about it. In the following years, Yi Tian lived in Xuanyu Pavilion. He exchanged some treasures on his body that were not very helpful to him to Xuanyu Pavilion, and then bought some resource treasures that were beneficial to him. In this way, Yi Tian's cultivation has gradually improved, but without the resources to quickly assist Yuan Dao to temper his body, he has no way to quickly improve his cultivation. Therefore, he is also inquiring about the news. There are many treasures that help the half-step 7th level ancestor to temper the body, but each one is very expensive. Yi Tian just came here, his net worth is not comparable to those rich Taoist ancestors. Therefore, he cannot buy that resource in large quantities either. As for him who understands the ninefold Yuan Dao, his foundation is too strong, and he needs more resources, so he must find a way to collect resources. On this day, Yi Tian found out that a nearby ancient nest had many treasures that could temper his body. Strictly speaking, it is a treasure obtained from a primitive antiquity, similar to the dark blue stone liquid. This kind of primitive antiquity is called primitive vine grass. These primitive vine grasses are very sharp and can cut through the Taoist body of the sevenfold ancestor in half a step, and their attack power is very powerful. If you kill the original vine grass, you can harvest the original vine liquid in its body. The effect of this original vine liquid is 10 times better than that of the dark blue stone liquid. However, the original vine grass is basically a pile as soon as it appears, and maybe there is also the original vine grass that is comparable to the level of the sevenfold original ancestor. Therefore, even the half-step sevenfold original ancestor did not dare to provoke the original vine grass. The 7th level primitive ancestor is naturally not afraid of the original vine grass, but the ancient nest where the original vine grass is located will suppress the 7th level primordial ancestor extremely. Furthermore, the sevenfold original ancestor does not need the original vine liquid, and naturally will not venture into the ancient nest where the original vine grass is located. There are also Taoist ancestors in Xuanyu Pavilion who sell the original vine liquid, but the price is too expensive. I can't buy much. It is more convenient to go to the ancient nest to hunt the original vine grass. 1. But Yi Tian also knew very well that if he went to that ancient nest, there would be a certain danger, and he might perish. You have to make another copy of the body, and there will be one less copy of the body on the other side of the primordial region. Yi Tian immediately started copying. Soon, a replica body was created. Then, Yi Tian's duplicate body went to the ancient nest where the original vine grass was located. This ancient nest is called the ancient nest of vines and grasses. In fact, it is not only a primitive ancient relic of the original vines and grasses, but also the original ancient relics of grasses. However, the vine grass is the most powerful, hence the name. An ancient nest of vines. At this time, Taoist ancestors continued to enter from here, and Taoist ancestors came out from here. Suddenly, a figure appeared here, and it was Yi Tian who had just rushed over. Yi Tian did not hesitate in the slightest, and directly escaped into the ancient nest of vines. Entering the ancient nest of vines and grasses, Yi Tian appeared on the periphery. There were no primitive relics here, and most of the primitive relics were in the inner periphery, so it was very dangerous there. However, Yi Tian did not explore for a long time before he encountered a primitive relic. But this primitive antiquity is not primitive vine grass, but a red grass. Flaming ancient grass. Yi Tian recognized it. After all, he was going to come here, so he naturally learned about the situation here in advance, and naturally he also knew something about the ancient flame grass. But, the flame ancient grass is very weak, even the weaker half-step 7-layer primitive ancestor can deal with them, only a very few flame ancient grass can be comparable to the top half-step 7-layer primitive ancestor. As for the ancient flame grass that is comparable to the 7th-layer primitive ancestor, there is no one, at least it has not been found yet. Boom! Yi Tian smashed the ancient flame grass with one blow, and left without any gain. Subsequently, Yi Tian continued to go deeper and finally discovered the original vine grass, but it was not one, but 38 original vine grasses. These original vine grasses were all concentrated together, and the 5.9 deterrent was very powerful. After Yi Tian sensed the breath of the original vine grass, he quickly frowned. I can't deal with it. Some of the original vine grasses are probably comparable to the top half-step 7-fold original ancestors, I may not be able to beat them. Yi Tian didn't act recklessly and immediately retreated. Although he has comprehended the ninefold Yuan Dao, there are still quite a few Taoist ancestors who have comprehended the ninefold Yuan Dao, so it is not unusual. He has just broken through to the half-step 7th level ancestor realm, so he is far from invincible in this realm, and any top half-step 7th level ancestor can hang and beat him. If those Taoist ancestors who have understood the ninefold Yuan Dao and have broken through dozens of times come, they can kill him with a single blow. Therefore, he is not yet qualified to be arrogant, and must be low-key. Chapter 2185 The big event in the boundary of the Hanhai district. Open black lens bracket full order close black lens bracket. Next, Yi Tian carefully looked for the original vine grass that he could deal with. Fortunately, this ancient nest of vines and grasses is big enough, and there are more primordial vines here, so Yi Tian quickly found other primordial vines. 15 vines of the original vines are not too strong, but they can be killed. Yi Tian didn't hesitate and shot directly. The endless black domain covers this area, directly restraining and suppressing these primitive vines. Immediately, Yi Tian exerted all his strength to attack these primitive vines. Boom! The battle has begun, and it will soon be over. Yi Tian directly killed the 8 vines of the original vine, and then took the vine liquid in the body of the 8 vines of the original vine, and then immediately retreated. As for the remaining 7 primordial vine grasses, they are not weak. Although they can be killed, it will take a certain amount of time. Therefore, Yi Tian did not continue to attack, otherwise it would attract other original vines, which would be very unfavorable to him. An ancient nest of vines. Yi Tian came out from inside, although he only found 8 copies of the original vine 29 liquid, but it was enough to cultivate for a long time, so he sent it back first, and then entered the ancient nest of vines. Otherwise, if this duplicate body were to fall into the ancient nest of vines, wouldn't it even lose the original vine fluid that was obtained? Therefore, doing so can ensure that resources are not lost. It didn't take long for Yi Tian to return to the ancient star city. Try the effect of the original vine juice. Yi Tian took out a portion of the original vine liquid, swallowed it directly, and then cooperated with the endless Yuan Dao to temper his body. Immediately, his body was tempered at an extremely fast speed, and his body became stronger and stronger. What a powerful effect! In this way, I'm afraid it won't be long before I can break the limit for the second time. Yi Tian said excitedly. Subsequently, Yi Tian's cloned body once again entered the ancient nest of vine grass, but this time his luck was not good. He encountered the original vine grass that was comparable to the level of the original ancestor of the 7th layer. This original vine grass is comparable to the original ancestor of the 7th-fold. Yi Tian was targeted by this primordial vine grass, although this primordial vine grass is not very powerful, but it is comparable to the ordinary 7th-fold primordial ancestor. If he broke the boundary more than a dozen times, he would definitely be able to compete with this original vine grass, but he only broke the boundary once, and he couldn't beat this original vine grass at all. Escape. Yi Tian tried to escape from here with his infinite speed, but his speed was not as good as this primordial soaring grass. Unexpected. In the endless time and space, the figure of the original vine grass appeared. It was actually blocked in the time and space here. No matter which direction Yi Tian escaped from, he had to face it. Boom! A battle started, but Yi Tian's body was blown up very quickly. Although he relied on a few primitive ancient beads on his body to recover again and again, it was useless. After dozens of times, he couldn't recover and was directly killed. The clone body has fallen. Yi Tian has no big loss. After all, this clone body only carries a few primitive ancient beads, and has not obtained the original vine liquid. Fortunately, the original vine liquid was sent back, otherwise it would have been a real loss. Yi Tian is very grateful for his choice. If he obtains the original vine juice later, no matter how much, he will return all of it. In this way, the years passed, and in a blink of an eye, 10 million yuan eras passed. During this period of time, Yi Tian had been staying in the Xuanyu Pavilion in the ancient Star City and did not go anywhere. At this time, his strength skyrocketed a lot. Break the boundaries 7 times. This is the result of Yi Tian's 10 million yuan era. If he hadn't come to the vast sea region, his current cultivation might still be at the half-step 7th level ancestor level. But when he came to the boundary of the vast sea, he entered the ancient nest of vines and grasses again and again, and obtained a large amount of the original vine juice, which allowed his cultivation to continue to skyrocket. Of course, others couldn't follow him either. After all, in this 10 million yuan dynasty era, how many times his duplicate body has fallen, and the other Taoist ancestors are only alive, how dare to do this? After breaking the boundary 7 times, Yi Tian now has the hope of escaping even if he encounters the original Fujikao of the 7th level ancestor who killed him. Now, it was easier for him to obtain the original vine liquid in the ancient vine grass nest, but the effect of the original vine liquid on him was reduced, and now it takes a lot of the original vine liquid to break the boundary once. It seems that after the original vine liquid helps me break the boundary 10 times, its effect will be very weak. At that time, I have to find other treasures to help temper my body. But right now, he doesn't need to worry about tempering his body. This day, there was a big event in the boundary of the Hanhai district, and the senior officials of Xuanyu Pavilion sent a message to all members. Don't run around lately. Soon, all members knew what had happened. A half-step 8-fold original ancestor is devouring the Taoist madly. Yi Tian was a little surprised. According to the information that was inquired, this Taoist ancestor practiced a kind of Yuan Dao of the devouring type. It stands to reason that this Yuan Dao is very normal and nothing special. But the key point is that the Yuan Dao understood by this Dao patriarch actually needs to devour a large number of Dao patriarchs, and even swallow the primordial Dao of the 7th Dao patriarch, so as to strengthen his own primordial Dao. It's not that you don't need to practice to improve, but that's what you need to do after the 7th level ancestor. Yuan Dao also has realm division, entry, small achievement, great achievement, perfection and limit. In order to comprehend the ultimate Yuan Dao, the half-step 8-layer primitive ancestor had to swallow countless Dao ancestors before he could do it. In the past, this half-step 8th level primitive ancestor was only sneakily swallowing some Taoist ancestors, but now that he is approaching a breakthrough, and urgently needs a large number of Taoist ancestors, he was a little crazy and was finally discovered. With this discovery, the other party has no scruples at all, and has swallowed dozens of community circles, including ordinary lives. Now, the half-step 8th level ancestors in the bounds of the vast sea are all chasing and killing this half-step 8th level ancestor. The only fortunate thing is that this half-step 8th level ancestor understood the 8th level Yuan Dao. If it was the 9th level Yuan Dao, then he really needed the 8th level ancestor to deal with him. This half-step 8th level ancestor actually devoured dozens of community circles. This has indeed provoked public anger. Yi Tian frowned slightly. If you let the other party swallow it like this, then it's okay, a lot of life in the community has to be swallowed up. Hopefully I won't go to the Taikuyuan area boundary. Yi Tian thought to himself. However, the other party should not look down on there. After all, there are not even a few half-step 7-level ancestors, and there are not even a single 7-level ancestor. For the half-step 8th level primitive ancestor, he couldn't improve his Yuan Dao at all, and there was no point in going there. As this incident happened, countless Taoist ancestors were so frightened that they didn't dare to go out, and they didn't even dare to stay in their own community. After all, the community was no longer safe. Immediately, the giant cities and top community circles on the silent Black Sea became the hope of these Dao ancestors, and a large number of Dao ancestors came to these giant cities and top community circles to stay. Those who were timid, even paid the price to leave the boundary of the vast sea area and go to the boundary of other large areas. Chapter 2186 The Self-Destruction of Escape Baolian. Open black lens bracket full order close black lens bracket. Hanhai District Boundary. In a community called Hefeng, there are many Taoist ancestors, many of whom are 7th level Taoist ancestors, and the strongest even have the peak of 7th level Taoist ancestors. It can be said that this community is very powerful. Even in the Hanhai district, it can be ranked in the top 100, and it is the real top district. However, this day, a figure appeared in the original Black Sea of this community. In an instant, this figure released countless black rays of light, shrouding countless creatures in the entire community, and even those 7-fold ancestors were shrouded. In an instant, a large number of Taoist ancestors were swallowed up. Heiji Daozu, you are courting death. Figures appeared one after another. In an instant, a golden palace appeared, and 6 Taoist ancestors appeared from it, directly interrupting the movements of Heijing Taoist. You are lying in ambush here. Daozu Heiji was a little surprised. HMPH, Heiji Daozu, you have been devouring Daozu all these years. There are so many Daozu in the Hefeng community, and there are many outside Daozu who all live here. You will definitely start here. Therefore, we ambushing here. This time, don't even think about leaving. We have blocked this place with the unforbidden Dao Palace. You don't want to escape. One of the Taoist ancestors said. These 6 Taoist ancestors are all half-step 8-fold original ancestors, and Heijing Taoist ancestors are also half-step 8-fold original ancestors. Ha ha ha, you alone want to kill me. The Yuan Dao we understand is the eightfold Yuan Dao, and my eightfold Yuan Dao is infinitely close to the limit, and some of you haven't even taken the Yuan Dao yet. After cultivating to the perfect state, it is really ridiculous to want to kill me. Heiji Daozu sneered, and did not take these 6 Daozu in his eyes at all. Then, what if I make a move? The voice of a Taoist ancestor came. In the next moment, a young man in white appeared in the perception of Daozu Heiji. Seeing this young man, Daozu Heiji's pupils shrank sharply. Teibai Daozu, why did you return to the bounds of the vast sea region? Pipe exclamation mark quote. He was terrified. Although this Taoist ancestor is also a half-step 8th level original ancestor, he has comprehended the 9th level Yuan Dao, and he has cultivated to the limit. Potential and foundation to impact the realm of the eightfold ancestor. The strength of Teibai Daozu far surpassed him, and the gap between Zhouzhong Yuan Dao and Bajong Yuan Dao was getting bigger and bigger in the later stage, and it was difficult to make up for it. A half-step 8 level ancestor like Teibai Daozu can almost kill him in seconds. At this moment, Heiji Daozu was very frightened. He chose to devour countless Taoist ancestors in the vast sea region, but also felt that the half-step 8th level ancestors in the vast sea region were not powerful, and the truly powerful half-step 8th level ancestors had all left, so if he was more careful, no one could do anything to him. But he did not expect that Teibai Daozu would come back at this time. Damn, if I devour some Dao ancestors again, I will have the hope of comprehending my Yuan Dao to the limit. It's only a little short. Heiji Daozu knew that he was far from being an opponent of Teibai Daozu, and he didn't even have the courage to do it, but he didn't give up. He also has the trump card to escape. Heiji Daozu, you could have lived a good life, staying in the bounds of the vast sea with your half-step 8th level ancestors' cultivation base, is an almost invincible existence, no one can threaten your status, but you have done too much this time, so you'd better die. Teibai Daozu held a sword and slashed with one sword. At this moment, it seems that all the Yuan Dao will be torn apart. This sword, Daozu Heiji couldn't stop it. However, Heiji Daozu sacrificed his own Dao fruit at this time, and there was a black lotus on top of the Dao fruit. Next moment, the black lotus devoured the fruit, and the black lotus devoured everything. Not good. The expressions of the 6 half-step 8th level ancestors changed dramatically. And the Riverwind community circle also began to crumble. In an instant, the Riverwind community was completely shattered, and countless creatures perished. Although Teibai Daozu's sword stabbed the Black Lotus, it only cracked the Black Lotus, but did not break it. Then, the Black Lotus exploded, and countless black lights enveloped the surroundings. Teibai Daozu only had time to protect the 6 half-step 8th level ancestors. As for the other Dao ancestors in the river border area, he could not protect them because it was too late. Soon, the black light dissipated. The boundary of the riverside community disappeared, and the no forbidden Dao palace that blocked the void was completely shattered. At this moment, they all appeared in the silent Black Sea. Except for the Black Lotus fragment, there is no shadow of the ancestor of the underworld. Teibai Daozu, has Heijing Daozu fallen? A Taoist asked suspiciously. Teibai Daozu shook his head. It shouldn't be. The Black Lotus that Heiji Daozu sacrificed just now should be the escaped treasure lotus among the Black Lotuses in the 10 directions. Escaped treasure lotus is good at escaping. Heiji Daozu blew up escaped treasure lotus and broke open blocked, and then fled away with a trace of the essence of the escape lotus. He is very smart, knowing that the light can't escape in front of me. Therefore, he burned the Dao fruit combined with the escaped treasure lotus, and this broke the blockade. Let alone me, even the original ancestor of the 8 layers may not be able to stop him. How could escape Baolian be in the hands of Heiji Daozu? They are very puzzled. After all, such good things, even the ancestors of the 8 layers need it. Heiji Daozu burned the Dao fruit, not damaged or broken, so it is difficult to recover. Even if he really has the treasure of recovery, but he has no strength at the moment, you can find it yourself. I still have something to do, and I am not in the bounds of the vast sea area. Lingering. Having said that, Teibai Daozu left. These Dao ancestors have no intention of letting Teibai Dao ancestor stay. After all, Teibai Dao ancestor was able to come back in time to help. They are already very grateful. How can they dare to let Teibai Dao ancestor continue to guard the boundary of the vast sea district? Kang. Inform him, let's catch Haitsu together. Well, the other half-step 8th level ancestors were reluctant to make a move before. This time Heijing Daoist no longer has the cultivation of the half-step 8th level ancestor. Even the half-step 7th level ancestor can deal with him. Those half-step 8th level ancestors are able to deal with him. The ancestor of the 8th layer should dare to take action. Don't expect that group of cowards, just protect your own community, let our ancestors of Hanhai Palace find it. Go back and use the vast sea boundary map, deduce and search for the approximate location of the Heiji Daozu, and then send a large number of Daozu to look for it. I don't believe that after the Heiji Daozu is no longer cultivated, it can still be hidden so deeply. Shish. The 6 half-step 8th level ancestors of the Hanhai Palace quickly returned. And not long after, the Daozu Heiji was severely injured, lost his Dao fruit, and the fact that his cultivation base fell sharply was publicized. Immediately, countless Taoist ancestors were overjoyed, and all of them breathed a sigh of relief. There are still many Taoist ancestors who are going to look for Heijing Taoist ancestors and take the opportunity to kill Heijing Taoist ancestors so that they can obtain countless treasures on Heijing Taoist ancestors. Chapter 2187 The Black and Lonely Taoist Ancestor is here. Open black lens bracket seeking full order close black lens bracket. Star Ancient Giant City. I didn't expect that Daozu Heiji would end up like this so quickly. Yi Tian had long expected that Heiji Daozu would end up like this. After all, even if he was a half-step 8th level ancestor, he was far from being invincible. Even if Heiji Daozu really comprehends the ultimate primordial Dao, he might be found by a powerful Yafold ancestor and then killed. Therefore, the fate of Daozu Heiji is not unexpected. Of course, Daozu Heiji was just taking a gamble, but unfortunately he lost the gamble. In a certain community boundary in the Hanhai district, Heiji Daozu escaped here, tried his best to hide his breath, and even used a treasure on his body to shield him from exploration. But he knew very well that he would not be able to hide for long. Without the Dao fruit, I can't even activate the Yuan Dao, and my cultivation is only equivalent to the half-step 6th level ancestor. Even with a strong physical body, it is comparable to the half-step 7th level ancestor's combat power, but it is still too weak. Any 7-layer ancestor can kill me in seconds. Not to mention those half-step 8-layer ancestors, a look from the other party is enough to make me fall. Heiji Daozu knew that he could no longer stay here, otherwise he would be discovered sooner or later. You must leave the bounds of the vast sea region. Heiji Daozu thought to himself. But if he goes to other regions now, he can't do it at all, and he will definitely be discovered. The other end of Montenegro can only be cut off by cutting off Montenegro. It is said that there is also a boundary at the other end of Black Mountain. Although 140 is far from being comparable to the boundary of Hanhai district, it is more suitable for me to hide. Immediately, Heiji Daozu immediately escaped into the silent Black Sea again. His speed is very slow now, and in desperation, he used some kind of acceleration treasure to speed up the speed. Before long, he came to truncate Montenegro. It is indeed very powerful to cut off some primitive antiquities in Montenegro. I have to use that treasure. If Heiji Daozu finds the safest route, he can also rely on his own strength to pass through, but he has never understood the interception of Montenegro before, so he does not know which route is the safest. Therefore, he can only choose a random route, but his current strength is very weak, and he can't beat many primitive antiquities that cut off Montenegro. A black leaf appeared on Daozu Heiji. After this black leaf appeared, his body began to change slightly. In the eyes of primitive antiquities, he is a primitive antiquity. The piece could hide his identity, but it didn't last long. However, getting him through the truncation of Montenegro was no problem. Soon, Heiji Daozu passed through the cut-off Montenegro, and none of the primitive antiquities along the way attacked him. Finally arrived at the boundary of this area, there is a block that cuts off Montenegro. Even the Hanhai Palace can't detect my existence, but they may guess that I have crossed the cut-off Montenegro. However, the vast sea boundary map of the Hanhai Palace is only the boundary of the vast sea can play an unimaginable role. If you come here, the boundary map of the vast sea is useless, and it is almost unrealistic to rely on the boundary map of the vast sea to find me. Heiji Daozu turned into a black light and shuttled in the silent Black Sea. He was going to swallow some Daozu first and recover his injuries. For him, swallowing some Taoist ancestors is easier to restore strength than eating any treasure. If there are enough Dao ancestors to devour him, it is not impossible to restore Dao fruit. It's just that he doesn't have Dao fruit now, so he can't mobilize Yuan Dao. The speed of swallowing and consuming a Dao ancestor is very slow, and it takes a long time to swallow a Dao ancestor. First kill the original ancestor of the 6th level peak. Heiji Daozu quickly came to a community, and his will instantly probed the entire community. What? There isn't even a 6th level peak ancestor, the strongest is only in the middle stage of the 6th level ancestor, how can there be such a weak community? Heiji Daozu was dumbfounded. No wonder the Dao patriarchs in the vast sea area don't care much about this place, and they don't have any information about it. It turns out that this place is too weak. The middle stage of the 6th layer primordial ancestor is too weak. Even if I swallow the entire community of living beings, I can't recover, and if I swallow all of them, my existence will undoubtedly be exposed. Continue to look for it. Heiji Daozu quickly left this community and went to other communities. After searching again and again, I searched several community circles, but I couldn't find the Taoist CJFJ ancestors at the peak of the 6th level original ancestor, nor did they find the Taoist ancestors of the half-step 7th level original ancestor level. Heiji Daozu came to a community again, and finally found a Daozu who was at the peak of the 6th level original ancestor. Ha ha ha, I finally found a peak of the 6th layer original ancestor, and it seems that I have touched the prototype of Yuan Dao, which is not bad. I swallowed him directly and regained a little strength. What's the matter? Why do you feel heart palpitations? Zhen Sha Daozu's face changed slightly, trying to calculate, but couldn't calculate anything. He suspects that a strong person is eyeing him, but with his current strength, if he doesn't make a move, he is almost invincible. Unexpected. A black hand grabbed it. Not good. Shaking Daozu was terrified. He tried to resist this black hand, but he couldn't. This black hand does not contain the power of Yuan Dao, but the power it contains suppresses everything, so that his prototype of Yuan Dao is suppressed. In the blink of an eye, the Daozu Junsha was taken away by the black hand, swallowed directly into the body of the Daozu Heiji, and then slowly refined. Subsequently, Shocking Daozu left this community, went to another community, hid, and slowly absorbed the refining Shocking Daozu. At the same time, he also took out many precious resources to refine and restore his own strength and Dao fruit. But it will take a long time to fully recover. Years go by. The disappearance of the Shocking Daozu did not cause any repercussions. Although later, many Taoist ancestors knew that Shaoxing Daozu was missing and could not be contacted, and confirmed that Shaoxing Daozu had fallen, but they only guessed whether Shaoxing Daozu had provoked some powerful primitive antiquity before he was killed. But after a long time, the original ancestor of the half-step 6th level peak disappeared, which aroused the suspicion of some Taoist ancestors. Hanhai District Boundary. The Dao Patriarchs of the Hanhai Palace have been using the boundary map of the vast sea, but they have not found the Dao Pao Heiji. Heiji Daozu's cultivation base is no longer. Can he still hide it? Could it be that you have already left the boundaries of the vast sea region? We have placed a large number of Taoist ancestors in several places away from the boundary of the vast sea. If the Heijing Taoist ancestors want to leave, they will not be able to hide from us. There is another possibility, that is, Heiji Daozu left the boundary of the vast sea district and went to the community boundary on the other side of Montenegro by cutting off the Black Mountain. There are still many community boundaries over there. If the Heiji Daozu is hidden there, the vast sea Jayatu couldn't find him at all. Then send a Taoist to investigate, but the vast sea boundary map cannot be effective there. Even if we go looking for it, we may not be able to find the Heiji Daozu. Try it, maybe you'll find it. Afterwards, Hanhai Palace dispatched several 7th Dao ancestors to cross the truncated Montenegro. Chapter 2188 I finally found it. Open black lens bracket seeking full order close black lens bracket. After passing through the cut-off Montenegro, the 7 ancestors of the Hanhai Palace searched for a long time in this area, and searched one neighborhood after another, but they did not find the figure of Heijing Daozu. With the will of the 7th level ancestor, it seems that the Dao ancestors of the Hanhai Palace came here and are looking for me. Unfortunately, without the map of the vast sea, even if my cultivation base falls sharply, you will not be able to spy on the Zumi Daoju. Hide. Heiji Daozu is very confident in the Zumi Daoju, which is one of the primitive ancient treasures, and belongs to the same kind of primitive ancient treasures as the vast sea realm map. It's just that the boundary map of the vast sea and the boundary of the vast sea are smelted together, and they can exert more powerful power. In the past, when he was in the half-step 8th level ancestor, he was covered by the void Daoju, and he could barely block the exploration of the vast sea boundary map. But now, his cultivation base has plummeted, and even if he activates the Shu Mi Daoju, he cannot block the exploration of the vast sea boundary map in the vast sea boundary map. But in this area, he is still very confident. Even if the original ancestor of Ye comes, he may not be able to find him. I'll keep a low profile in the next few years. When the Dao Patriarchs of Hanhai Palace can't help but leave, I'll act again. Heiji Daozu thought to himself. Years have passed, and tens of millions of years of the original era have passed. The Dao ancestors of the Hanhai Palace searched here countless times, but they could not find the Heijing Dao ancestor, so they gave up completely and left the area directly. Taikuyuan area boundary. In these years, some 7-layer primitive ancestors have been constantly exploring the boundaries of this area. Why is it? Yi Tian was a little puzzled, but he didn't ask about the 7th-layer primitive ancestor. After all, people didn't necessarily pay attention to him. However, these 7 ancestors did not do other things, so he just didn't care. But he also guessed that these 7 ancestors should belong to the Dao ancestors of the vast sea region. Could it be that you came here to find the Dark Lord Taoist? Yi Tian has some guesses about this. But whether Heiji Daozu came here, he really can't say. Now, those Taoist ancestors in the vast sea area have left. He plans to find Heijing Taoist ancestors himself, and communicate with other Taoist ancestors by the way to see which Taoist ancestors have disappeared recently. Suppressing Daozu is missing. This is the only 6th-level peak Taoist ancestor who has been silently missing in recent years. However, just the disappearance of a 6th-level peak ancestor does not mean anything. Wow, Yi Tian soon came to the community of Daozu slain, but he used the copy talent to investigate and found nothing. Go to other neighborhoods. In the following years, Yi Tian spent his time exploring the surrounding communities one by one. With the scope covered by his copying talent, it didn't take long for Yi Tian to finish investigating a community. Finally this day, Yi Tian came to a community area called Longqi District. After entering this community area, Yi Tian continued to investigate as usual. Each high-level original region is shrouded by Yi Tian's copy talent, and the talents of countless creatures are under Yi Tian's investigation, and none of the original ancestors can hide from his investigation. It can be said that with his current cultivation, copy talent can penetrate almost anywhere, and there are too few places that can block copy talent. Unexpected. Hey, this area is a little weird, it makes my copy talent unable to extend past. 1. Yi Tian was a little surprised. It would be fine if this was a forbidden area, but this is obviously a very ordinary original area. Immediately, he explored with his extreme will. Without any obstacles, he could easily explore this area clearly. There seems to be nothing special here. However, he used the copy talent to probe the creatures in this area, but he couldn't detect it. It seemed that there was a power that blocked his copy talent. If it weren't for the talent of copying, he really couldn't see the clues of this place. When Yi Tian came to this original realm and continued to use the copy talent to probe, Heiji Daozu panicked. Damn, this half-step 7th-level ancestor won't find me. Heiji Daozu thought to himself, impossible, those 7th-level ancestors can't find me, how could a half-step 7th-level ancestor find me? Existence. As long as I don't give off any breath and don't make a move, he doesn't know my existence. 1. Time passed by, Yi Tian still did not find Heiji Daozu. However, he still has a way to confirm whether there is anything weird here. Whoa. Yi Tian waved his hand, and countless creatures disappeared. In the blink of an eye, all the practitioners in this small original area were removed by Yi Tian and moved directly to another original area. For flowers. In this way, he would have no problem destroying this original domain. Endless golden light. Yi Tian's power enveloped this original domain and shattered this original domain in an instant. Although the Zumi Daoju is a primitive ancient treasure, it can hide the black and silent Taoist ancestors, but it cannot completely disappear, and under the attack of endless golden light, the Zumi Daoju is revealed. I saw the gray-white void Dao bead appearing in the endless golden light, it was so conspicuous. Damn it, you exposed me. Daozu Heiji was furious. He knew that he had to kill Yi Tian as soon as possible, otherwise once he was exposed, he would be known by a large number of Taoist ancestors, and maybe some Taoist ancestors would run out of here and let the Taoist ancestors of Hanhai Palace know. By then, he will have nowhere to run. 0. Death to me. Heiji Daozu shot directly, and a pair of black hands grabbed Yi Tian directly. Heiji Daozu. Yi Tian was a little surprised, he didn't expect that Heiji Daozu would be hidden here. It's hidden so deep, even if you copy talent, you can't detect him. If you detect something wrong here, try to attack it, and it really makes him hide. 1. Facing Hei Daozu's attack, Yi Tian did not panic at all. If he has just broken through to the half-step 7th level ancestor, he may not really be the opponent of the Black Silence Taoist at this moment. But now, he has broken the limit 9 times, and his strength is far beyond the time when he just broke through. Those half-step 7th level ancestors who understood the 8th level Yuan Dao, no matter how many boundaries were broken, are probably not his opponents. The endless golden light ripped apart the black hand of the Heiji Daozu in an instant, coupled with the endless black domain suppressing the Heiji Daozu, the battle was completed in an instant. The half-step sevenfold original ancestor of the ninefold Yuan Dao. Daozu Heiji was stunned. Although there are many Taoist ancestors who have understood the 9th level Yuan Dao, most of them are only the 7th level primordial ancestors, and those who have cultivated to the half-step 8th level primordial ancestors have left the bounds of the vast ocean region. And compared to the Taoist ancestors who comprehend the 8-fold Yuan Dao, the proportion of Taoist ancestors who comprehend the 9-fold Yuan Dao is too small. It's very rare for such a remote and weak area to have a half-step 7th level ancestor who understands the 9th level Yuan Dao, and it also made me meet, Daozu Heiji feels that he is too unlucky. Corpse. Chapter 2189 Killing the Heiji Daozu, a Big Harvest. Open black lens bracket full order close black lens bracket. The point is that Daozu Heiji still doesn't know how he was discovered. Escape. Heiji Daozu knew that he couldn't beat Yi Tian with his current state, so he could only choose to run away. However, his escaped treasure lotus had already exploded, and the last trace of escaped treasure lotus had long since dissipated. As a result, he now only has the usual escaped treasure. But at this moment, he used it, but it didn't work. Under the shroud of Yi Tian's endless black domain, Heiji Dao ancestor's strength was severely suppressed, his speed was also limited, and many methods were difficult to use. Damn, if Dao fruit is still there, I can still use Yuan Dao, even if I can only cast a trace of Yuan Dao, I can crush your domain. Daozu Heiji was furious. Your Excellency really want to fight with me? I used to be a half-step 8th level ancestor, even if I lose the Taoist fruit now, but if I work hard, it will not be difficult to perish with you. Heiji Daozu said, 140. Then try it. Yi Tian said without caring. Heiji Daozu's eyes became firm, and he directly swallowed a black fruit during the battle, and the aura on his body became extremely powerful. Boom! Endless black light enveloped this area, and instantly enveloped countless creatures in this area, swallowing them, and also swallowing Yi Tian. Let's die together. The voice of Daozu Heiji resounded throughout the district. The terrifying annihilation power enveloped this area, and in an instant, this area disappeared, the silent Black Sea was smashed and cracked, and the huge territory was turned into a forbidden area. The will of the Dao Dao gathered outside this area, and quickly turned into a broken figure, which is the ancestor of Dao Heiji. It's a big loss this time. The flesh is shattered, and only a part of the will of the extreme way remains. It will take a long time to recover to the half-step 6th level ancestor realm. If you want to restore the fruit of the Dao, it will take longer years. Heiji Daozu said helplessly. Fortunately, after killing the enemy, he must flee immediately. Zumi Daoju protected him and took him out of here quickly. Otherwise, after a long time, other Taoist ancestors will come, and he will not be able to escape. But suddenly, the silent Black Sea in front of him distorted, and a figure stared at him. It's you, it's impossible, how could you not die? Just now I broke out an attack comparable to the powerful 7th layer primordial ancestor, annihilating you in an instant, you can't be alive. 1. Heiji Daozu was stunned, he couldn't believe the fact that Yi Tian was still alive. However, Yi Tian just now was indeed killed by him, but what died was just a duplicate body. And he had let another copy body come to him as early as before. After all, he knew that Heiji Daozu was not easy. Even if his cultivation was no longer, he might not be able to survive if he worked hard. Therefore, with one more replica body, one more hope. Now, the decision was indeed right. Heiji Daozu, you should still fall. 1. Yi Tian shattered the body of Heiji Daozu with a single blow, shrouded in endless black territory, and shattered Heiji Daozu's extreme will. With the shattering of the will of the extreme way, the aura of Heiji Daozu became weaker and weaker. In the end, Hei Daozu fell and died. Then, Yi Tian took away the Zumi Daoju of Heiji Daozu and the treasure resources on his body, and then left here. Not long after, a Taoist ancestor came here. When they saw that the community boundary had been shattered, they all shivered and fled here quickly. In their view, this is most likely the result of one or several 7th level ancestors. Therefore, they did not dare to investigate, and they did not even dare to understand. As for what happened, they didn't want to know. Taikuyuan area boundary. Yi Tian is back. This bead should be used to hide Dao ancestor Heiji, so that no one in the Hanhai district can find his treasure. Yi Tian quickly refined this bead and knew its usefulness. Zumi Daoju, primitive ancient treasure, hidden breath, hidden body shape, shielding exploration, deduction and other effects. Yi Tian looked shocked. This is a good thing. After entering the bounds of the vast sea region, he naturally sees how amazing the ancient treasures are. Even in the entire bounds of the vast sea region, there are not many original ancient treasures. The birth of a primitive ancient treasure is even enough to cause the half-step eightfold primitive ancestor to fight. He didn't expect such good things to fall into his hands. And this original ancient treasure still has a lot of resources, but unfortunately it is not the same as what Yi Tian imagined. The number is not many. Of course, there are also some relatively high-level resources, which should be useful for the half-step 8th level primitive ancestor or the 7th level primitive ancestor, but they can't be used now. But even so, Yi Tian felt that Heiji Dao ancestor was too poor. He knew that Daozu Heijing had swallowed up many community circles. How many Daozu there must be in those community circles, and how many resources they must have. How could it be so small? There is only one possibility, and that is that Dao ancestor Heiji swallowed up all those resources. It's a waste. Yi Tian said regretfully. If Yuan didn't swallow it, don't be too greedy. These resources alone are enough for me to cultivate for a long time, and I can also exchange some of these resources for the resources I need. Subsequently, Yi Tian dispatched a duplicate body to cross the truncated Black Mountain again, headed to the boundary of the vast sea region, and sent these resources to the duplicate body of the boundary of the vast sea region. As for the Zumi Daoju, it is better to stay in the Taikuyuan region. Hanhai Palace. Soon, they received the suspected news of the appearance of Heijing Daozu. Before, when Hanhai Palace dispatched some 7-level ancestors to pass through the truncated Montenegro and go to another district boundary, they found a few half-step 7-level ancestors and left a special communication method. If you find any signs of Heijing Daozu, contact him immediately. Soon, the digital half-step 8-fold original ancestor of Hanhai Palace came to the other end of the Black Mountain, and soon came to the place where Heiji Daozu fell. There is a community that has been annihilated, and the annihilation time is not long, and a little trace of the past can be learned in a special way. It should be the Black Ji Daozu shot. A half-step 8-fold ancestor said. Immediately, they dispatched the vast sea boundary map. Although they could not find the Daozu Heiji, they hoped to find some traces. But this time, after urging the exploration and deduction of the original ancient treasure of the boundless map of the sea, an astonishing result of 5.9 was obtained. What? Heiji Daozu has fallen. This is easy to speculate. After all, the Daozu Heiji has fallen, so naturally they cannot block their deductions. Who did it? The other half-step 8-fold ancestors were shocked. I can't figure it out. The Taoist ancestor must have refined the Zumi Taoist beads, and we can't deduce it. But the fall of the Heiji Taoist ancestor is a good thing. Otherwise, let the Hei Taozu really recover, understand the ultimate Yuan Dao in the future, and step into the 8-fold primitive ancestor realm will definitely take revenge on our vast sea palace and vast sea district borders. Forget it, it doesn't matter who killed the Heiji Daozu, let's just let this matter go. Maybe a certain 8-fold ancestor couldn't see it, and came directly to find the Heiji Daozu and killed him. Immediately, these half-step 8th level ancestors returned to the Hanhai Palace and announced the fact that the Heiji Daozu had fallen. This news announced that the entire boundary of the vast sea has completely returned to normal. Chapter 2190 Primitive Antiquities Siege Xingu Giant City. Open black lens bracket full order close black lens bracket. Years go by. After Yi Tian obtained the resources from Heiji Dao ancestor in the cloned body of Zanyu Pavilion, he began to use these resources to improve his strength, assisting endless Yuan Dao to temper his body, making his body stronger and stronger. When the resources that help the endless Yuan Dao to temper his body are exhausted, he will use some resources suitable for the 7th layer primitive ancestor to trade and buy the resources he needs. In a short time, he does not need to go out to find resources. In Xuanyu Pavilion, there are often 7-level original ancestors preaching, talking about Yuan Dao cultivation and the path of half-step 7-level original ancestor and 7-level original ancestor cultivation. Therefore, Yi Tian often went to listen to the sermons of the 7th layer primordial ancestor. In addition to listening to sermons, he usually practiced and tempered his body. Just like that, the days passed slowly. Yi Tian broke the boundaries again and again, and his strength naturally became stronger and stronger. There are enough resources, and it is still a very good resource, which is many times better than the original vine liquid, so Yi Tian's cultivation speed is 29 degrees incomparably fast. After just tens of millions of yuan eras, Yi Tian broke the limit 15 times. Although compared to many top half-step 7-layer primitive ancestors breaking dozens of times, Yi Tian did not break many boundaries. However, the strength that he increases every time he breaks the boundary is unmatched by others. Especially at the back, every time the boundary is broken, the gap will be very large. However, there is a limit to the number of times each half-step 7th layer primordial ancestor can break through. For example, a half-step 7th level ancestor who has comprehended the 8th level Yuandao can only break the limit of 64 times at most, while a half-step 7th level ancestor who has comprehended the 9th level Yuandao can break the limit of 81 times. If a half-step 7th level ancestor who comprehends the 9th level Yuandao really broke through the boundaries of 81 times, and completely broke through to the 7th level ancestor, what a terrifying strength. Those 7 level ancestors who only comprehend the 8th level Yuandao are simply incomparable. The gap is too large. Of course, even if one has comprehended the half-step 7th level ancestor of the 9 level Yuandao, it would be too difficult to break the 81 threshold. If the potential of the 9th level Yuandao cannot be exerted, and the number of times that the boundary is broken is too few, then the 7th level primordial ancestor will not be too strong in the future. Although it can suppress those Taoist ancestors who have comprehended the 8th level Yuandao, it is not invincible. In short, the Taoist ancestors who achieve perfection in every realm are truly invincible. Yi Tian's goal is naturally to break the limit of 81 times. Even if this goal is difficult, he has to achieve it, otherwise it would not be a waste of his endless Yuan Dao. In the blink of an eye, the era of hundreds of millions of Yuan has passed. On this day, Yi Tian's resources suitable for assisting Yuan Dao to temper his body were exhausted. After all, Heiji Dao ancestor did not need this kind of treasure, so naturally he would not save too much. Right now, he has only broken the limit 17 times. It's time to change resources. Yi Tian took out some resources that were suitable for the 7th layer primitive ancestor and exchanged them for points in Xuanyu Pavilion, and then purchased resources that were suitable for him. Although this exchange transaction will lose money, after all, Xuanyu Pavilion will earn the middle price difference. But, doing so is more convenient than ever. He has no idea of going to other places to trade. Even if he has traded enough resources, he will easily be targeted by some 7th level ancestors. So, he was too lazy to go to other places to trade. In the years that followed, Yi Tian had enough resources to practice and temper his body with all his strength, breaking the boundaries again and again. But at the back, even if there are more resources, the difficulty will be greater. Moreover, having comprehended the 9-fold Yuan Dao, the price he paid for breaking the boundary was far more than the other half-step 7-fold Yuan ancestor. It can be said that any Taoist ancestor who has comprehended the 9-fold Yuan Dao needs resources that other Taoist ancestors cannot imagine. Ordinary forces can't cultivate a Taoist who understands the 9-fold Yuan Dao at all, nor dare to cultivate it with all his strength, and can only rely on the Taoist himself. Therefore, those Taoist ancestors who have comprehended Zhouzhong Yuan Dao grow very slowly. But once it grows up, it is really invincible. It's a pity that the Taoist ancestors who understood the 9-fold Yuan Dao fell in the process of growing up. Some fell in certain forbidden places, and some were assassinated. Of course, other Taoist ancestors fell even more. Star Ancient Giant City. On this day, on the silent Black Sea outside the city, densely packed primitive relics appeared, and there were all kinds of primitive relics. The strength levels of these primitive antiquities are not uniform. The weaker ones are only comparable to the original ancestors of the 6th layer, while the powerful ones are comparable to the peak powerhouses of the 7th layer of primitive ancestors. The original antiquities besieged the city. Yi Tian was a little surprised, and after sensing it, he discovered a lot of terrifying primitive relics. At this time, countless Taoist ancestors in the entire Xingu giant city were also a little panicked. Don't panic, this is a normal phenomenon. Every long time, there will be such primitive antiquities besieging the city, and after a period of time, they will retreat. The one who speaks is a 7-level peak ancestor. The Star Ancient Giant City has many peak 7-level ancestors, but there is no half-step 8th level ancestor for a long time, but the half-step 8th level ancestor can be invited in time. If the original antiquities of the half-step 8-fold ancestor level really appear, there will be half-step 8-fold ancestors to help. But now there is no need to ask the half-step 8-fold ancestors, they can carry it by relying on the strength of the ancient star city itself, live. But, even if it is a half-step 8-fold primitive ancestor, there is no way to kill all the primitive antiquities here. For example, those primitive ancients who are comparable to the peak level of the 7th layer primitive ancestor are very difficult to kill, and ordinary half-step 8-fold primitive ancestors cannot do it. Unexpected, the formation of Star Ancient Giant City 140 was activated, covering countless primitive relics outside the city. At this time, representatives of the great forces began to order many Taoist ancestors to fight against these primitive antiquities. And the high levels of Xuanyu Pavilion also issued such an order. Yi Tian naturally also received the order. What a mysterious formation, it actually divides the territory outside the city into pieces of time and space, and it can accurately distinguish their strengths. At this moment, the time and space Yi Tian went to is the time and space where the original antiquities of the half-step sevenfold original ancestry are located, and the original antiquities of this piece of time and space are all at the half-step sevenfold original ancestral level. In this way, the half-step 7-layer original ancestors will not encounter the 7-layer original sword antiquities, and their safety is guaranteed. And if you really can't beat it, if you are about to fall, you can retreat. Unless the strength gap is really too big, and it is instantly destroyed by the primitive ancient artifact, it will hardly fall. Therefore, countless Taoist ancestors dared to enter the territory shrouded in this formation to help kill these primitive relics and lighten the burden on the ancient star city. Otherwise, even if these primitive antiquities continue to attack the formation of Xingu Giant City will not last long. And killing these primitive antiquities, some primitive antiquity also gave birth to good treasures, so for many Taoist ancestors, this time is also a chance. Chapter 2191 Ancient Nest No. 13. Open black lens bracket full order close black lens bracket. Boom. Yi Tian shot again and again, killing each and every half-step 7th level primitive ancient artifact. Although he did not shoot with all his strength and hid part of his strength, the strength he showed was still very terrifying. One of the primitive antiquities died in his hands, and some of the treasures left after the death of the primitive antiquities were also collected by him. Time passed slowly, and as a large number of primitive relics were killed, the burden of the Xingu Giant City formation was greatly reduced. After a long time, these primitive antiquities disappeared one by one. At this time, Xingu Giant City lifted the formation and returned to its normal state. The Taoist ancestors who were in the Xingu Giant City were also relieved. After all, they were also worried that the Xingu Giant City would be breached. Many Taoist ancestors invaded most of the financial resources in the ancient city of Xingu, and even settled permanently. If this place is breached, even if they escape, the loss will be extremely heavy. The harvest this time is not small, but the number of primitive antiquities that appeared this time is really too many. If there are so many primitive antiquities in the primordial region, no one can stand it. 1. Yi Tian muttered. And so far, practitioners have not been able to gain insight into the secrets of primitive antiquities, and they do not understand the principle of the birth of primitive antiquities. But one thing's for sure, don't try to provoke primitive antiquities. Even if it is the original ancestor of the 8 layers, if he always dares to stay in the silent Black Sea, one day he will encounter the original antiquity that he cannot provoke, and thus will perish. Like the Star Ancient Giant City, it only uses a special method to imitate the boundary, and the boundary can permanently exist in the silent Black Sea, and the same is true for the Star Ancient Giant City. Unfortunately, I dare not copy the body of the original antiquities. Yi Tian smiled bitterly and shook his head. Every time he wants to copy the body of the original antiquities, he will feel great terror, so from the beginning to the present, he has not copied the original antiquities. It seems that even if he really dares to copy it, he will be targeted by an extremely terrifying existence, which will lead to his exposure. Therefore, he never dared to take risks. Otherwise, he disguised himself as a primitive relic and entered the ancient nests of primitive relics, then he could get whatever treasure he wanted. Unfortunately, this cannot be done. Star Ancient Giant City, City Lord's Mansion. The high-level leaders of the great powers gathered here, and every Tao ancestor who came was the peak of the 7th layer original ancestor. The pavilion master of the Xuanyu Pavilion branch, the peak powerhouse of the 7-fold original ancestor, the Xuanwang Daozu. The elder of the Sword Feather sect, the peak powerhouse of the 7th layer original ancestor, and the Taoist ancestor of Chenshin. The elder of the Hanhai Palace, the 7th level peak powerhouse, the ancestor of the Round Stone. The vice president of the Xingu Chamber of Commerce, and the city owner of the Xingu Giant City, the 7th level peak powerhouse, the Daozu Heiya. The Tao ancestors of the peak level of the 7th level ancestors gathered here, and they were all discussing a major matter. At this time, as the city owner of Xingu Giant City, he spoke. All of you are the ancestors of the 7th level peak who have been stationed in the ancient giant city for a long time, and they are also high-level leaders or leaders of major forces. This time I called you all to discuss the opening of the No. 13 Ancient Nest. This time we attracted countless people. Primordial antiquities, take the opportunity to kill countless primitive antiquities, and use the big array to absorb the origin of primitive antiquities, and in this special period, the barrier of no. 13 Ancient nest is in the weakest state, enough to open no. 13 Ancient nest, but the original the number of antiquities is limited, so the number of places is limited. We cannot continue to attract countless primitive antiquities, otherwise it will cause great terror. Therefore, we can only set these places. After Heya Daozu finished speaking, the other Daozis expressed their opinions. I want 50,000 places in the Hanhai Palace, isn't that a lot? The Yuanshi Daozu of Hanhai Palace asked. 50,000 places. Heya Daozu frowned. Yuanshi Daozu, the last time you asked for 48,000 places in the Hanhai Palace, and the source of the original antiquities extracted this time is more than the source of the last time. It's a lot less, why do you have to increase the number of places? Yuanshi Daozu sneered. Jianyu sect and Xuanyu Pavilion suffered heavy losses in the last Heiji Daozu incident, lost many 7-level ancestors, and each 7-level peak ancestor was killed, and their strength was greatly reduced. And in the end, it was our Hanhai Palace who solved the trouble and paid a heavy price. So, what's the problem with increasing the number of places this time? When the two Taoist ancestors of Xuanyu Pavilion and Jianyu sect heard this, their faces were very ugly. But they couldn't refute, and the Hanhai Palace was the most powerful force in the Hanhai district. Not only were there many half-step 8th-level primitive ancestors in charge, but there were also many powerhouses who had left the boundary of the vast ocean and could be summoned back at any time. Therefore, they dare not offend the Hanhai Palace. In the end, the major forces still agreed to the quota request of the Hanhai Palace. The Hanhai Palace asked for 50,000 places, and the remaining places were allocated by other forces, while the Xuanyu Pavilion only got more than 6,110 places. Not long after that, the representatives of the major forces left. Xuanyu Pavilion. The high-level officials of the Xuanyu Pavilion released a message that any member, as long as he is in the realm of the half-step 7-fold original ancestor, can use points to buy the opportunity to enter the No. 13 Ancient Nest. That's right, it's just an opportunity, you must pass the competition to get a place. Because there are only more than 3,000 places in total, there are actually more than 6,000 places, but some places are reserved directly, and only 3,000 places will be given to the other half-step 7-level ancestors to compete for. And how many half-step 7-fold original ancestors does Xuanyu Pavilion have? Yi Tian didn't know how many, but the Xuanyu Pavilion in the Xingu Giant City was just a branch, and there were nearly tens of thousands of half-step 7-level ancestors. It is conceivable that there are too many half-step 7-level ancestors in Xuanyu Pavilion. Only the number of the 7th-layer primordial ancestor is relatively rare. With so many half-step 7-level ancestors competing for the mere 3,000 places, it can be said that the competition is fierce. Ancient Nest number 13, what exactly is this? Yi Tian was a little curious and took a closer look. After he understood it clearly, he knew the value warehouse of No. 13 Ancient Nest. There are a total of 18 incomparably mysterious ancient nests in the vast sea region, where they are in their specific names. Among them, no one knows where the No. 13 Ancient Nest is, but many half-step 7-level primitive ancestors in the entire vast sea area can enter the number 13 area by special means at a certain time. Did you get it? According to legend, there are many resources in the ancient nest number 13, and there are many treasures with fast bodies. There are even rumors that there are reincarnation treasures inside the number 13 ancient nest, and the supreme ancient treasures that allow Taoist ancestors to condense their clones. After all, the Taoist ancestors have no avatar of will, and only have a real body. If he has an avatar, his life-saving ability will greatly increase, which is equivalent to having a second life. But the supreme ancient treasure that can make Daozu all condensed clones is too rare, and can't be found anywhere else, and the number 13 ancient nest is said to have appeared. In short, countless half-step 7-layer primitive ancestors want to enter the number 13 ancient nest. I don't know much information, but there is no doubt that there are many resources in ancient nest No. 13. Although I am not short of resources, but if I want to quickly break through the boundaries, relying on the resources in my hand is simply not enough. If I enter ancient nest No. 13, maybe you will get extremely precious treasures, so as to quickly increase resources. Yi Tian decided to compete for a spot. Chapter 2192 Purple Blood and Golden Marrow. Open black lens bracket full order close black lens bracket. Immediately, Yi Tian paid some points and got the chance to compete for the spot. Of course, many half-step 7th layer original ancestors knew that they had no hope, so they didn't waste their points. After a long time, the registration deadline. This time, Xuanyu Pavilion has a total of more than 60,000 half-step 7 level ancestors, and they are all top half-step 7 level ancestors. They have confidence in themselves, otherwise they will not sign up. And so many half-step 7 layer original ancestors signed up. In the end only 3,000 people could get a place. One can imagine how fierce the competition is. Afterwards, these half-step 7th level ancestors of Xuanyu Pavilion learned from each other and were guarded by the 7th level ancestor, so it was unlikely that they would fall. Soon, the sparring challenge began. Xuanyu Tower. A statue of the half-step 7-fold original ancestor entered it and learned from each other one-on-one. And Yi Tian played against each other, and they all easily defeated each other. After all, with his current strength, unless he encounters a half-step 7th level ancestor who has comprehended the 9th level Yuandao, he will only comprehend the 8th level Yuandao or the 7th level Yuandao's half-step 7th level ancestor, even if he breaks the limit dozens of times. Not his opponent. After going through hundreds of battles, Yi Tian directly locked a spot, and the whole process was very easy. All the discussions are over, the quota has been set, and it should be about to enter the No. 13 Ancient Nest. Yi Tian waited silently, and finally waited for dozens of Yuan dynasty epochs, and the notification 157 from the top of the Xuanyu Pavilion was issued. After 10 days of the original domain, it officially entered the ancient nest on the 13th. And each half-step 7-layer primitive ancestor who got a place has obtained a key, and through this key, they can directly enter the number 13 ancient nest. The 10 original days passed quickly. This day, the high-level officials of Xingu Giant City joined forces to activate the formation, and the source of the original antiquities that was intercepted was connected to the hidden ancient nest No. 13. Ancient nest number 13 is hidden so deeply that even the 7th level peak primordial ancestor cannot detect it, and only the half-step 8th level primogenitor can sense it at a special time. At this time, under the influx of a large number of primitive antiquities, the barriers of this number 13 ancient nest were relaxed. Let those half-step 7-layer primitive ancestors go in. The city lord of the ancient star city, Daozu Heya spoke. Soon, countless half-step 7-level primitive ancestors in the vast sea region got the news. Then, one by one, the half-step 7-level ancestors who had won the quota, mobilized the keys in their hands. Even if they are no longer the half-step 7-level ancestors of Xingu Giant City, they can enter No. 13 ancient nest through the token at this moment, so they don't even know that the entrance to No. 13 ancient nest is in Xingu Giant City. Yi Tian pushed the key, his body was sucked by a force, and he passed through some kind of barrier. This is ancient nest No. 13. Yi Tian stood in the void of ancient nest number 13, and was alert all around. At this moment, ancient nest number 13 is suppressing him, but the suppression is not too big. Moreover, as soon as he came in, he sensed the breath of many primitive antiquities. According to the information given by Xuanyu Pavilion, although the number 13 ancient nest has primitive antiquities comparable to the 7-layer primitive ancestor, the number is extremely rare, and almost all of them are in a state of sleep during this period, which is imperceptible, as if they did not exist in ancient times. Inside the nest. As long as you don't provoke them, they don't seem to exist. As for how to identify whether there are such primitive antiquities there, the method is very simple, that is to use a secret technique. Yi Tian has also practiced this secret technique for a long time, ancient profound technique. Ancient mysterious art is practiced by combining the power of Yuan Dao with primitive antiquities. For example, if he obtains objects in distant ancient objects, those objects can be used as a medium to practice ancient mysterious art. With ancient mystic arts, if you perceive a place where there is a terrifying primitive relic hidden in deep sleep, then don't go there. Certainly, Yi Tian not only has to guard against the primitive antiquities here, but also guards against other half-step 7-level ancestors. After all, there are many half-step 7-level ancestors who fall here, and many of them are killed by other half-step 7-level ancestors. Soon, dozens of primitive relics surrounded Yi Tian. These primitive antiquities are not powerful, they are only comparable to the primitive antiquities of the 6-fold primitive ancestors. Yi Tian waved his hand and killed them directly. Subsequently, Yi Tian began to look for resource treasures. After all, he had come this time, and naturally he had to gain more. Soon, Yi Tian found something good. This is the purple profound light stone. Yi Tian was a little surprised when he saw a large piece of purple profound light stone in front of him. Because there are too many purple profound light stones. The purple profound light stone is similar to the purple profound light, It is an auxiliary thing that can assist the half-step 6th level primitive ancestor to break through to the 6th level primitive ancestor, and the effect is better. With so many purple profound light stones, it is enough to cultivate a large number of Taoist ancestors. If it was in the primordial plains region, it would be extremely difficult to find a treasure similar to the purple profound light stone, but I did not expect that there are so many here. There are at least tens of millions of purple profound light stones in this piece. Yi Tian immediately went over and collected these purple profound light stones. Although these purple profound light stones are of no use to him, they can be left to the human race or traded, and they can exchange for a lot of resources. Therefore, Yi Tian made a lot of money in this wave. It's so cost-effective. Although I spent a lot of points for this place, I earned it back in this wave, and it even exceeded it. No wonder they all want to enter the ancient nest number 13, there are too many resources here. Immediately, Yi Tian went to other places, and he also gained a lot, and even little help, the treasure of his own cultivation. Boom! In an area in the distance, there are battle fluctuations. At this time, Yi Tian received a message from a Taoist patriarch in Xuanyu Pavilion. In fact, for this kind of communication, unless it is a good relationship, other Taoist ancestors will not rescue. But Yi Tian thought about it, and it was over. After all, being able to let these Taoist ancestors fight must be a good thing, and in the case of saving people, you can get some benefits by the way, why not do it? Of course, if the enemy is too strong, he will not be able to fight. Soon, Yi Tian came to this area and finally knew what they were fighting for. It turned out to be a primitive relic, purple blood elf. Yi Tian was a little surprised. This is an extremely rare primitive ancient artifact, and the purple-blooded elves look like elves. Killing the purple-blooded elves can get the purple-blooded golden marrow in its body, original ancestor. After half-step 7 level ancestors broke the limit of 9 times, and after comprehending a top-level Yuan Dao control technique, they could go to the 7th level ancestor realm. However, even if the Taoist ancestor who understood the 8th level Yuan Dao hit the 7th level primordial ancestor, the probability of success would only be 1/10, and after one failure, the probability would become lower and lower. Therefore, these half-step 7-layer primitive ancestors all want to obtain some auxiliary treasures to increase the success rate. The purple blood golden marrow can increase the success rate of breaking through the 7th layer primordial ancestor. If there are enough purple blood golden marrow, the chance can be increased by 30%. The purple-blooded golden marrow in this purple-blooded elf is not too much, but they also want it, even if only the purple-blooded golden marrow in this purple-blooded elf is enough for a half-step 7th level ancestor to improve by more than 10% odds. For this reason, they fought frantically. And this purple-blooded elf was covered by a treasure and could not escape from here. As long as these half-step 7-layer primitive ancestors were to decide the winner, it would die. Chapter 2193 The Hope of Copying Talent Promotion. Open black lens bracket seeking full order close black lens bracket. The half-step 7 level ancestor of these battles belonged to several forces, and one of them was a half-step 7 level ancestor of Xuanyu Pavilion. This half-step 7th level ancestor was also the one who trapped the purple-blooded elf with treasures, so many Taoist ancestors directly besieged him. At this moment, he has been hit hard, but he is still reluctant to leave. Yi Tian has no idea of saving the other party. After all, the two sides are not familiar with each other. Maybe if he saves, this Taoist ancestor may let him resist the attacks of other Taoist ancestors, kill the purple blood elf by himself, take away the purple blood golden marrow, and then escape. He didn't want to be tricked. Even if the other party made a promise without any guarantee was almost meaningless. Soon, the half-step 7th level ancestor of the Xuanyu Pavilion couldn't stand it anymore, and he directly took the treasure that trapped the purple-blooded elf and escaped directly. Naturally, the other half-step 7 level ancestors would not pursue them, after all, their targets were only purple blood and golden marrow. Go away, the purple blood golden marrow is mine. A half-step 7th level primitive ancestor who broke the limit of 50 times said coldly. However, at this time, who cares who you are and what strength you are, sometimes it is not necessarily strong, you can snatch it. The more powerful the half-step 7-layer primitive ancestor, the more half-step 7th-layer primitive ancestor will be targeted. These half-step 7-layer primordial ancestors chaotically fought into a ball, and the purple blood elf was quickly blown up, and a group of purple blood golden marrow appeared, about hundreds of drops. At this moment, Yi Tian shot. Boom! The endless black domain, endless speed, Endless original body and endless golden light erupted instantly, making Etienne's strength reach an incomparably terrifying level. There is an endless mask to protect the whole body and resist the attacks of other Taoist ancestors. Roll. Etienne directly flew the other Tao ancestors, grabbed the large group of purple-blooded golden marrow with one hand, and then fled very quickly. Leave me. A statue of the half-step 7th level ancestor was furious and tried to intercept Etienne. However, the strength of these Tao ancestors was not good, so naturally they couldn't stop Etienne and let Etienne escape. Unexpected. An incomparably powerful half-step 7th level ancestor appeared. The moment he appeared, Etienne trembled all over. It's also the half-step 7th level ancestor who has comprehended the 9th level Yuan Dao, and he has broken the boundaries a lot more times than me. Etienne knew that he was far from the opponent's opponent, so he used the treasures that escaped. At this time, the Dao ancestor struck from the air. Etienne's small half-body shattered directly, but with a large number of primitive ancient beads, his injury recovered quickly. Escaped again and again, coupled with Etienne's speed is fast enough, the other party quickly gave up. After all, it's just some purple blood and golden marrow, there's no need to keep chasing him. Therefore, the Taoist ancestor gave up. Sure enough, when I meet those half-step 7 level ancestors who have broken the boundaries many times and comprehend the 9 level Yuan Dao, I am far from being an opponent. Etienne is going to keep a low profile next. Among the half-step and 7-fold primordial ancestors who comprehend the 8-fold Yuan Dao, his strength is invincible, but when he encounters the half-step 7-fold primordial ancestor who comprehends the 9-fold Yuan Dao, there are many who are stronger than him. In the vast sea area, it is not uncommon for Taoist ancestors to comprehend the 9th level primordial path, and some of them stay in the half-step 7th level primordial ancestor realm. These half-step 7-layer ancestors who have understood the 9-fold Yuan Dao have a very clear goal, that is, to break the 81 boundary, otherwise they will not be reconciled to breaking through to the 7th layer ancestor. But it is too difficult to break through the 81 threshold, so many half-step 7-level ancestors who have comprehended the 9th level Yuan Dao have stayed in this realm for countless years, and so far they have not chosen to break through. Time passed slowly, and more half-step 7-fold ancestors gained huge gains, but many half-step 7-fold ancestors were killed. This day, Etienne approached a special area, and the copying talent suddenly had a special induction, as if some treasure was attracting him. At this moment, Etienne was extremely excited. The treasure that made the copy talent promotion appear. He originally thought that the upgrade of his copy talent to this level was already the limit, but he didn't expect that there was still hope for upgrade. The current copying talent is of great use to me, only the function of copying the body is of great use, but copying other talents is meaningless, and copying more extreme ancestral talents is useless. If the copying talent is upgraded, maybe it will be having a new ability will also make my potential soar. So, Etienne slowly went to that unknown place. Just as he was approaching that place, Etienne suddenly stopped. There are primitive antiquities that are comparable to the original ancestors of the 7th layer. Etienne sensed the existence of these primitive antiquities with ancient mysteries, so he did not dare to move forward, otherwise such primitive antiquities might kill him in one blow. The primitive antiquities are not weak, and they are primitive antiquities comparable to the level of the 7-fold ancestor, maybe comparable to the middle or even later stage of the 7-fold ancestor. For flowers. Therefore, he dare not gamble. What should I do? The treasure that allows me to copy the talent upgrade is in the area where the original antiquity is. How can I take this treasure away? Etienne is thinking silently here. Ask other Taoist ancestors to help. That's not realistic. He can perceive the existence of this primitive antiquity, and other Taoist ancestors can naturally. They wouldn't be foolish enough to provoke this primitive artifact. There is only one way, that is to make a copy of the body to lead away the original ancient artifact. As long as the original ancient artifact's strength is not too strong, I should be able to withstand it for a while, and this time is enough for me to take it. Go for that treasure. After Etienne wanted to understand, he was ready to do it. Immediately, he added time and started duplicating his own body. Soon, the replica body is replicated. One cloned body was hidden, and the other cloned body with a blank body took some of the original ancient beads and went straight up. In the dark and invisible void, a primordial ancient who was shrouded in darkness sensed Etienne's arrival and entered its domain. In an instant, it moved, as if it opened a pair of eyes that could not be looked directly in the darkness. The next moment, its breath burst out, and its figure was completely revealed, appearing in Etienne's line of sight. Then, it shot directly. Etienne sensed that the primordial ancient man had made a move, and directly defended with all his strength, and refined the primordial ancient beads one by one, just to save his life. Unexpected. A finger spanned everything, directly smashed Yi Tian's endless light shield, and bombarded Yi Tian's body. In an instant, half of Yi Tian's body was directly annihilated, but fortunately, the original Guju saved his life. If there is no primitive ancient pearl, I am afraid that I will be killed by 2 moves. The strength of this primitive ancient artifact is much stronger than the ordinary 7-layer primitive ancestor. Yi Tian fled quickly, and this primitive ancient man really left here and went after him directly. After all, once the ancients of Primordial had set their sights on a practitioner, they would almost never die. Unless the practitioner hid in a district or other place, the ancients of Primordial would not give up chasing him. But in this ancient nest, it is impossible for the primitive ancients to give up their pursuit. Nailed it, Yi Tian said excitedly. Immediately, his other duplicate body went to the place where the treasure was located at the fastest speed, trying to take the treasure corpse as soon as possible. Chapter 2194 Talent Upgrade, Yuan Dao Zhu Fu. Open black lens bracket full order close black lens bracket. In an instant, Yi Tian came to the treasure. This is a purple hill. Yi Tian knew that the items he needed were inside the purple hill, but this purple hill was also an extraordinary thing, and it was so strong that it was not easy for him to cut it open. Take it all away. Yi Tian quickly put this purple hill into the void in his body, and then quickly left here. The other side. Yi Tian's cloned body led away the primordial ancient man who was comparable to the 7th-layer primitive ancestor. His body was shattered again and again, and the primordial ancient beads on his body became less and less. Get it, this replica body can fall. Yi Tian no longer resisted. However, at this time, a half-step 7th-level ancestor appeared here, and it happened to bump into it. Boom, this copy of Yi Tian's body was directly blown up and fell instantly. And the original, 157, person stared at the half-step 7-fold original ancestor. This is a primitive ancient person comparable to the original ancestor of the 7th layer, who brought it out. That half-step 7th level primordial ancestor wants to cry but has no tears. What kind of bad luck is this? I want to go out. This half-step 7th level ancestor wants to leave this ancient nest, otherwise, if he is still in this ancient nest, he will surely die. However, it takes time to leave this ancient nest, and will this primitive ancient man give him time? Just when he was about to leave, this primitive relic crushed his body with one hand, wiped out all his will, and was instantly killed. It can be said that he is very unlucky, but his strength is not good. The cloned body was killed, but it doesn't matter, harvesting this treasure is enough. Yi Tian murmured. Immediately, he found a remote place with few resources, and then hid, and then prepared to take out the treasure he needed from the purple hill. Boom! Yi Tian attacked the purple hill again and again, and finally penetrated the purple hill, and took out a drop of purple water from it. That's it. Yi Tian was able to sense the strong attraction of copying talent and wanted to swallow this drop of purple water. So, Yi Tian swallowed it in one bite. Boom! The energy of this drop of purple water poured into Yi Tian's copy talent, helping the copy talent to upgrade. At the same time, endless pain struck. However, Yi Tian forcibly held back. After a long time, the pain subsided. Yi Tian felt that his copying talent had undergone tremendous changes, and his own potential had naturally improved. He studied it, and soon knew what the copy talent had changed. The first is the ability to copy everything. Before, he could only copy one item. If he wanted to copy other items, he had to remove the previous item. But now, he can copy 3 items at the same time, and this ability is greatly enhanced. Moreover, items that could not be copied in the past should now be able to be copied. In addition, he can integrate those extreme ancestral gifts. Before, Yi Tian copied countless extreme ancestral fu, but these ancestral verses could not be integrated, as if the extreme ancestral fu was the limit. But now, the newly upgraded copy talent has broken this limit. It takes a long time to integrate these extreme ancestors. After we go out, we can copy them slowly. Now let's look for some more resources. 1. Yi Tian thought about it and left here. Soon, he encountered some primitive ancients. This time, he used to use the copy talent to probe these primitive ancients. This investigation, he was directly shocked. Race. Primitive antiquities. Yuan Dao Zhu Fu, immortality. In the past, Yi Tian probed the primitive antiquities, as if there was some hidden power that blocked his replication talent exploration, resulting in only the information of the primitive antiquity race, but not the ancestors of the Yuan Dao. No wonder these primitive ancients are difficult to kill, it turns out that they have the ancestral gift of immortality. Yi Tian suddenly realized. It is precisely because the primitive ancients possessed such Yuan Dao ancestral gifts that it was difficult to be killed. And even if the Taoist ancestors possessed the original ancient beads, it is impossible to have such an effect. Copy. Yi Tian immediately copied the undead Yuan Dao ancestor Fu of the original ancients. Immediately, he killed these primordial ancients one by one, but there was one primordial ancient who was comparable to the half-step 7-layer primordial ancestor, and it took him a long time to kill him. Not long after, Yi Tian also successfully integrated the undead Yuan Dao ancestral Fu, and possessed his first Yuan Dao ancestral Fu. After possessing this ancestral gift of Yuan Dao, Yi Tian's life-saving ability has skyrocketed, and with the original ancient beads, it is almost difficult to be killed. After all, the primitive ancients would not use other primitive ancient beads, but he would. Now he can completely absorb the special energy contained in a primitive ancient bead, and it is used perfectly, which can be called true immortality. At this moment, even if he encounters the primordial ancient man who is comparable to the sevenfold ancestor, he will not be killed. In addition, Yi Tian tried to comprehend his own endless Yuan Dao, and found that the speed of comprehension was much faster. My endless Yuan Dao is a fusion of 365 extreme extremes, and among them is the immortal extreme extreme. Now that I have the ancestral gift of the immortal Yuan Dao, it means that my talent has been upgraded, and my understanding will naturally increase. It's even easier to understand the infinite Yuan Dao. Immediately, Yi Tian thought about it. If he merged all the other extreme extremes into Yuan Dao ancestors, wouldn't his comprehension in comprehending Yuan Dao be inconceivable? At that time, it will be very easy for him to comprehend the endless Yuan Dao to a small achievement, a great achievement, or even the realm of consummation. Even, it is not difficult for him to comprehend the endless Yuan Dao to the limit state. Comprehend the endless Yuan Dao of the ultimate realm, and step into the eightfold ancestor in the future, there is no bottleneck for me. Thinking of this, Yi Tian was very excited. In the days that followed, Yi Tian found a lot of resources, even the 5.9 treasures that assisted the 7th level ancestor, he robbed several kinds. Ancient nest number 13, somewhere. One after another, the first half-step 7-layer ancestors gathered here, and these half-step 7-layer ancestors are the top half-step 7-layer ancestors of the major forces. Almost all the sons of the major forces have comprehended the half-step and 7th level ancestors of the 9-level Yuan Dao. There are also a few who did not understand the 9-level primordial Dao, but they also comprehended the very special 8-level primordial Dao. He has attained the top Yuan Dao control skills, reached the limit of the half-step 7-fold original ancestor, and his strength is also very powerful. At this time, they gathered here, just for a treasure. Sanqing Daoguo is about to be successfully conceived. There are only 8 in total. Everyone, how about snatch it by yourself? Daozu Zixuan, the original ancestor of the half-step 7th layer, suggested. Chapter 2195 Snatching the original reincarnation stone body. Open black lens bracket full order close black lens bracket. Naturally, we snatch them by our ability, but these primitive antiquities are also a big trouble. 1. Xingu Chamber of Commerce's half-step 7-fold original ancestor Zhoujuan Daozu opened the mouth and said. Numerous Taoist ancestors nodded slightly. There are not only the 3 purity Taoist fruits, but also dozens of primitive antiquities comparable to the 7th layer primitive ancestor sleeping here. If you observe with extreme will, you will not be able to observe anything, and you can perceive the existence of these primitive antiquities with ancient mystic arts. That is to say, they are extremely powerful, and they can leapfrog and fight against the 7th level ancestors, so they are not afraid of these primitive antiquities, but these primitive antiquities are also big troubles, and it is not so easy to get rid of them. However, they are all bound to obtain the fruit of the 3 purities. Sanqing Daoguo is an extremely rare treasure that can be refined into a clone, even if it is useful to the 7th level ancestor. Of course, the avatar condensed with Sanqing Daoguo is only a one-time avatar. Although it can be cultivated, once it falls, it will be gone. Unless you can continue to use the Sanqing Dao fruit to refine the clone. Although they can only have a clone of 1 life, it is equivalent to 1 more life for them. For the half-step 7-fold original ancestor or the 729-fold original ancestor who cannot have a clone, the value of this clone is too great. In addition, the avatar refined by the Sanqing Dao fruit will have a high understanding, and the speed of comprehending the Yuan Dao will be faster. Therefore, the value of Sanqing Daoguo is too high. If it is in the outside world, the 7th layer primordial ancestor will have to fight frantically for this. After another period of time, the Sanqing Dao fruit finally fully matured. Go! A Taoist ancestor shot. Just as they were approaching the 3-purity Dao fruit, those primitive antiquities that were comparable to the original ancestor of the 7th layer appeared, one by one showing their true bodies. However, when they saw these primitive antiquities, these half-step 7-layer primitive ancestors all looked shocked, and immediately revealed the color of great joy. Primary Reincarnation Stone. Oh my god, the original Reincarnation Stone was born here, and there are so many. Last time it seemed that there was a primordial Reincarnation Stone, but this time there are so many. The value of the original Reincarnation Stone is extremely huge. As long as you kill the original ancient artifact such as the original Reincarnation Stone, you can obtain its body. The body of this original ancient artifact can be refined into the ultimate treasure of reincarnation, which can be used for reincarnation. Although it is not as good as the natural reincarnation treasure, its effect is not much worse. The value of a primordial reincarnation stone is comparable to the entire wealth of an ordinary 7-fold primordial ancestor. At this moment, these half-step 7-layer primordial ancestors were extremely excited, not only for the idea of these 3-purity Dao fruits, but also for the idea of these primordial reincarnation stones. Snatch the fruits of the 3 purities first, and then deal with these primordial reincarnation stones. Boom! The fighting begins. These half-step 7-layer primitive ancestors not only fought against these primitive reincarnation stones, but also fought with each other. After all, there are only 8 Sanqing Dao fruits, how can they be divided enough? Soon, these Sanqing Dao fruits were all robbed, and the half-step 7th level ancestor who did not capture the Sanqing Dao fruit was naturally in a bad mood. But because there was an agreement before, naturally it can't be snatched anymore. Therefore, their goal is to focus on these primordial reincarnation stones. However, the strength of these primordial reincarnation stones is not weak, so the battle will not end so quickly. Soon, the battle here attracted the attention of many Taoist ancestors, who came over one by one. When some Taoist ancestors saw the original reincarnation stone, which was comparable to the 7-fold original ancestor, they were so frightened that they ran away. No matter how precious the original reincarnation stone was, it was not something they could participate in. However, there are still many Taoist ancestors who are eager to move around, watching around and not leaving here. At this time, Yi Tian also came here. Primary Reincarnation Stone. Yi Tian also noticed the original reincarnation stone and was a little surprised. This is a good thing. A reincarnation treasure made of a primordial reincarnation stone, if complete, is enough for a half-step 7th level ancestor to reincarnate and rebuild. Of course, if it was the 7th layer primordial ancestor, it would take a lot of primordial reincarnation stones to create a reincarnation treasure that would allow him to reincarnate and rebuild. In the Xuanyu Pavilion, there is a powerful 7th layer primitive ancestor who is buying the primordial reincarnation stone, and the price given is incomparably high. The value of the original reincarnation stone is very high, but unfortunately my strength is not enough to deal with the original reincarnation stone. Yi Tian did not choose to do it, and was also watching. Boom! A primordial reincarnation stone was knocked flying, and its body was cracked, as if it was about to be killed. At this time, a half-step 7th level primitive ancestor seemed to have broken the limit of 45 times, thinking that his strength was good, and directly attacked the primitive reincarnation stone, as if he wanted to find a leak. Boom! The primordial reincarnation stone was attacked and was completely cracked, but it still did not die. Court death. A half-step 7th level ancestor who understood the 9-level Yuan Dao was furious, and there were other Dao ancestors who dared to snatch his prey. In an instant, the half-step 7th level primitive ancestor who wanted to pick up the leak was directly shattered by a blow from the air. Kanggu Daozu, I didn't want to snatch it, I just intercepted it for you, for the sake of Blood River Hall, let me go. The half-step 7th level ancestor begged for mercy. Kanggu Daozu hesitated for a while, but did not make a move. Among the many Taoist ancestors who attacked the original reincarnation stone, there is the half-step 7-fold original ancestor of the Blood River Hall. Kanggu Daozu, give me a face, let go of this Taoist in my Blood River Hall. Said the Taoist in the Blood River Hall who understood Zhejiang Yuan Dao. Seeing this, Kanggu Daozu did not follow up. However, just when everyone thought that the primordial reincarnation stone, which was dying quickly, could not be snatched by other Taoist ancestors, Yi Tian took action. I saw Yi Tian appearing beside the primordial reincarnation stone, the right hand emitting golden light pinched the primordial reincarnation stone, killed it with one blow, and took away the body. This scene happened so fast that the other Taoist ancestors were stunned. At this time, there are still Taoist ancestors who dare to take food from the tiger's mouth and do not give Kanggu Taoist face. Boy, you are courting death. Kanggu Daozu was furious. A half-step 7th level primordial ancestor who only broke the threshold of more than 20 times dared to snatch the primordial reincarnation stone that he had severely damaged. He has comprehended Zhouzhong Yuan Dao, and has broken more than 70 boundaries. How terrifying his strength is. In terms of strength, Yi Tian is indeed not an opponent of Kanggu Daozu, but Kanggu Daozu wants to kill him now, but he can't do it. 9 ancient blood fingers. Kanggu Daozu smashed Yi Tian's body with one finger. However, under the influence of the undying Yuan Dao ancestor Fu and an ordinary primordial ancient pearl, Yi Tian recovered in an instant. Attack after attack, Yi Tian did not die again and again. Moreover, Yi Tian kept fleeing, making Kanggu Daozu helpless. Kanggu Daozu, if you keep chasing and killing me like this, those primitive reincarnation stones don't have your share. Yi Tian kindly reminded. Boy, which force are you from? Kanggu Daozu asked. Xuanyu Pavilion. Yi Tian didn't hide it either, and said it generously. Anyway, with his speed of progress, he will soon be able to catch up with the ancient Taoist ancestors. It turned out to be the Taoist ancestor of Xuanyu Pavilion. When I meet you next time, I must make you look good. Kanggu Daozu retreated and went to hunt down the other primordial reincarnation stones. This time is not bad. I have obtained the body of a primordial reincarnation stone. Even if I don't need it, I can sell it for a sky-high price. Immediately, Yi Tian left this area. After all, he was lucky this time, and it would be almost impossible to obtain such a primitive reincarnation stone body in the future. If you have this time, you might as well go to other places. Chapter 2196 Yuanshan Golden Drum, Golden Liquid. Open black lens bracket full order close black lens bracket. As time passed, the competition for the original reincarnation stone gradually came to an end. Although those primordial reincarnation stones are difficult to entangle, many Taoist ancestors paid the price of being injured and killed these primordial reincarnation stones one by one and obtained their bodies. And many Taoist ancestors were injured because of this, so they left directly. After all, they were injured, and it was obvious that even the original ancient beads could not be healed. It would not heal in a short time. If they stayed in ancient nest number 13, there was a risk of being surrounded and killed by other Taoist ancestors. Although everyone cooperates to attack the original ancient stone, they are still competitors and potential enemies. So, be careful. Of course, there are still Taoist ancestors who have comprehended Zhouzhong Yuan Dao, such as Kanggu Taoist ancestors. Although Kanggu Daozu was also injured, his injuries were not serious, and he still maintained a strong fighting power. He was looking for Yi Tian and wanted to trouble Yi Tian. However, the No. 13 ancient nest is very large, and it is difficult to probe how far the will is here, so it is not easy to find Yi Tian. This day, Yi Tian found a good treasure, which is helpful for comprehending Yuan Dao's Qingdao cold stone. Carrying this treasure on his body can slightly improve his understanding of Yuan Dao. For example, if Yuan Dao did not reach the realm of Shaochang, this Qingdao cold stone would still be effective. Of course, if Yuan Dao is raised to a level above Shaochang, Qingdao Hanshi will be useless. And near this cold stone of Qingdao, there are 3 primordial ancient relics in deep sleep, all of which are comparable to the 7th layer primordial ancestor. So, before Yi Tian followed suit, he used a cloned body to cause these 7-layered primitive antiquities, and then went to take the Qingdao cold stone by himself. In this way, Yi Tian easily took away the Qingdao cold stone. In the following days, Yi Tian used this method to take away precious treasures that other Taoist ancestors could not take away, and the harvest became more and more. Of course, the day of departure is getting closer and closer. Although all Taoist ancestors can stay in ancient nest number 13, after a certain period of time, the barriers of ancient nest number 13 are so strong that even the original ancestors of the 8 layers are difficult to break. At that time, they will not be able to leave, and outside forces will not be able to help them break the barriers and take them out. So, they have to go out within the stipulated time. If there is a Taoist ancestor who wants to continue to practice here and wait for the next opening, he will surely die. The primitive antiquities in the ancient nest number 13, which are comparable to the 7-fold ancestors, will not sleep forever, and will wake up in a certain time. Once he wakes up, he can't avoid it at all. Even if he comprehends the half-step 7th layer primitive ancestor of the 9-fold Yuan Dao and breaks the limit of 81 times, he will definitely die. Strive to get some resources before you leave. Yi Tian thought to himself. Another period of time has passed. Yi Tian's harvest is obviously not as good as before. After all, most of the resources have been taken away by those Taoist ancestors, and the remaining resources are naturally very scarce. These are, quote, Yi Tian saw the drums, which were almost exactly the same as the Yuanshan drums, but the colors were different. The golden drum of Yuanshan. Yi Tian recognized it quickly. The Yuanshan golden drum is the same as the Yuanshan drum, which belongs to the original drum category, but the Yuanshan golden drum is more powerful. It is the original ancestor of the 7th layer. And these golden drums of primordial spirit in front of them are comparable to the peak of the 6th level ancestor and the half-step 7th level ancestor level, and there are hundreds of them. Killing the Yuanshan drum can obtain black liquid, which can assist in comprehending the prototype of Yuan Dao, while killing the Yuanshan golden drum can obtain gold liquid, and the gold liquid can assist in comprehending Yuan Dao. I didn't expect these golden drums of the primordial spirit to be left behind. Did those Taoist ancestors not want to play these golden drums of primordial spirits? This is a real treasure. Yi Tian was a little curious. Perhaps these golden drums of primordial spirit were just born. After all, ancient nests will randomly produce some primitive antiquities. Generally, the primitive antiquities born in ancient nests belong to the same category, while the primitive antiquities born in number 13 ancient nests are of various kinds, without any rules, thus any primitive antiquities may be born. Of course, it is also possible that these Yuanshan golden drums are too powerful, and other Taoist ancestors dare not provoke them. At this moment, these primordial spirit golden drums attacked Yi Tian. The attacks of these primordial spirit golden drums are superimposed, pointing directly at Yi Tian's extreme will. These primordial spirit golden drums are quite terrifying on their own, and together with the superimposed power, they are enough to instantly kill the weaker 7th level ancestors. Collapse. Yi Tian's extreme will is like a collapsed pyramid. If it were other half-step 7 level ancestors, I am afraid that it is really dead. But Yi Tian possessed the ancestral gift of immortality, so the will of the extreme way was annihilated and restored, and he was only slightly injured in the end. These Yuanshan golden drums are not very powerful individually, but they are too terrifying when they are added together. And if they point directly at the will of the extreme way, even if their bodies are extremely powerful, they cannot withstand their offensive. No wonder there is no Daozu's idea to fight them, even if Kanggu Daozu, such as the half-step 7-layer primitive ancestor, does not dare to provoke these golden drums of primordial spirits easily, and if they encounter them, they can only escape. 1. If it weren't for Yi Tian possessing the ancestral gift of immortality, coupled with many primitive ancient beads, and his own extreme will is extremely powerful, coupled with the block of endless masks. Otherwise, he just died. I can't last long, I must kill them as soon as possible. Yi Tian made a quick shot and rushed into the primordial spirit golden drum array. Boom! The endless golden light penetrated the bodies of the Yuanshan golden drums. Those Yuanshan golden drums that were only equivalent to the peak of the 6th level ancestor were directly killed, and the Yuanshan golden drums that were comparable to the weaker half-step 7th level ancestor were also killed in seconds. However, some Yuanshan Jingu survived. And before those primordial spirit golden drums fell, they attacked Yi Tian again, causing trauma to Yi Tian again. Another attack struck, directly causing Yi Tian's extreme will to be severely damaged. However, the final winner was Yi Tian. Yi Tian directly killed all the primordial spirit golden drums, leaving only the void left. Gets Li Jiao, wow! Yi Tian waved his hand and collected the liquid gold. Fortunately, these Yuanshan golden drums do not have the ancestral gift of immortality, otherwise I would be dead this time. Yi Tian muttered, although they don't have the ancestral aura of the undying Yuan Dao, they have the ancestral aura of the god-destroying Yuan Dao, and Yi Tian copied it right away. This Yuan Dao ancestral fu is actually the attack method of the Yuanshan golden drum, which gathers special power to directly kill the enemy's extreme will soul. Of course, a single attack is useless, it must be superimposed to be powerful enough. Therefore, for Yi Tian, this Yuan Dao ancestral fu is not as good as the undying Yuan Dao ancestral fu. My injury is too serious, I can't stay here any longer, and the time to stay in ancient nest number 13 is running out, so let's go straight out. Yi Tian took out the key, communicated with the outside world, and quickly penetrated the barrier of No. 13 ancient nest and returned to the Xuanyu Pavilion in the ancient Star City. Chapter 2197 Return, Integrate Talent. Open black lens bracket full order close black lens bracket. Xuanyu Pavilion. Yi Tian came back. Standing in a hall of Xuanyu Pavilion, one after another 7 ancestors appeared, they are all high-level Xuanyu Pavilion. Infinite Ancestor, please take out your harvest this time and give 1/10 to Xuanyu Pavilion. A 7th level ancestor said. Xuanyu Pavilion only needs 1/10 of the harvest. This is a rule. After all, Xuanyu Pavilion is only a loose organization and has no binding force. You can even withdraw from the Xuanyu Pavilion at any time, all transactions are fair and just, and you have to work hard if you want to gain benefits. Of course, Xuanyu Pavilion will also ensure the safety of its members. Therefore, Xuanyu Pavilion will never give opportunities in vain. Just like the opportunity of the 13th Ancient Nest this time, members not only need to give points to get a place, but also have to give 1/10 of the resources after they come out. Certainly, if all the resources are refined in Ancient Nest number 13, then there is no need to take them out. But so many resources, naturally there is no way to refine them, and there is no time to refine them. Yes, Yi Tian took out all kinds of resource materials, and he did not hide any materials. After all, Xuanyu Pavilion has the original ancient treasure to spy on everything. If he hides it, Xuanyu Pavilion can still be explored, unless he brings Sumeru Daoju. But he has Zumi Daoju on his body, Xuanyu Pavilion can't spy on anything, and he will definitely know that there is a primitive ancient treasure on him that shields perception, which makes it even more suspicious. As the treasures were taken out by Yi Tian, the expressions of the surrounding 7th layer ancestors changed slightly. So many resources, and many are of high quality. Zhan Huang Daozu, the pavilion owner of the Xuanyu Pavilion, was a little surprised. Many members had already come out of the ancient nest on the 13th. But compared with Yi Tian, their gains were simply not worth mentioning. Among the treasures that Yi Tian took out, there are many kinds of them that can assist in the impact of the 7th layer primordial ancestor, and Yi Tian is still taking out the treasures. It can be seen that there are a lot of them. The infinite ancestor, this child is a bit complicated, you have to inquire about what happened in ancient nest no. 13. Xuanwang Daozu became interested in Yi Tian. Although Xuanyu Pavilion is a loose organization and does not pay attention to training members, it is still willing to cultivate members who are truly evildoers. After all, Xuanyu Pavilion also needs strong people to sit in the town, otherwise, if there are no strong people, Xuanyu Pavilion will not be able to exist for such a long time. It has already declined. Not long after, Yi Tian's resources were all taken out. Especially the primordial reincarnation stone and the golden liquid from the primordial spirit golden drum really shocked them. This time, there is a primordial reincarnation stone in the ancient nest on the 13th, and the number is still quite large. The news has been spread long ago, but I didn't expect this endless primordial ancestor to come in and win one. Moreover, there are so many gold liquid on the golden drum of the primordial spirit. It is very likely that he encountered a group of Yuanshan Jingu, and then killed them. This is also very difficult. Zhan Huang Daozu was really surprised. Yi Tian just broke the limit more than 20 times, even if he understood the 9-fold Yuan Dao, he couldn't do it, right? Subsequently, 1/10 of the resources were taken by Xuanyu Pavilion, and all other resources belonged to Yi Tian. After Yi Tian left, Xuanwang Daozu learned about Yi Tian's situation in ancient nest no. 13. It didn't take long for him to learn something. For example, Yi Tian robbed Kanggu Daozu of a primitive reincarnation stone, and also escaped from Kanggu Daozu's hands. And he also basically confirmed that Yi Tian's Yuan Dao is the Zhouzhang Yuan Dao. There are 5 Taoist ancestors in the Xuanyu Pavilion in the boundary of the Hanhai district who have comprehended the 9-fold Yuan Dao. 3 of them are in the half-step 7-fold Yuanzu realm, and 2 are in the 7th layer Yuanzu realm. In fact, in the history of Xuanyu Pavilion, the Taoist ancestors who comprehended Zhouzhang Yuan Dao are naturally more than this. Some even became the original ancestor of the 8th layer, but they left Xuanyu Pavilion early and joined other major forces. They were automatically separated from Xuanyu Pavilion. It cannot be regarded as the Taoist ancestor of Xuanyu Pavilion. Of course, those Taoist ancestors are also the backers of the Xuanyu Pavilion today. Without these backers, Xuanyu Pavilion would not have its current status. In the future, the endless primordial ancestor will also be included in the list of key training. This child not only understands the 9-fold Yuan Dao, but also has a lot of trump cards. At least he has a strong life-saving ability. Ancestor is not very difficult for a Taoist like him. Xuanwang Daozu thought to himself. Xuanyu Pavilion, Yi Tian's residence. After coming back, Yi Tian began to retreat and practice. After all, with so many resources to assist in his cultivation, he could quickly temper his body with the endless Yuan Dao, breaking the boundaries again and again. In addition, Yi Tian's other cloned bodies began to fuse the extreme Dao ancestral Fu on his body, and merge these extreme Dao ancestral Fu into Yuan Dao ancestral Fu. In this way, after a few years, he will have a large amount of Yuan Dao ancestors, and when the time comes, he will comprehend the endless Yuan Dao, and the speed of progress is unimaginable by other Dao ancestors. Time passed slowly, Yi Tian's cultivation continued to grow, breaking the boundaries again and again, and Yi Tian's extreme ancestral talents were also constantly merging. He first fuses the time extreme ancestral Fu. He does not know how many time extreme ancestral ancestry he has encountered in the past, and now he can naturally copy and merge. Fusion time and time again, although each fusion is painful, but after a long time, these countless time extreme ancestral Fu has finally merged into time Yuan Dao ancestral Fu. Then there is the fusion of space extreme Dao ancestral Fu, which was also merged into space Yuan Dao ancestral Fu. Gradually, Yi Tian has more and more Yuan Dao ancestor Fu. And he broke more and more boundaries. 25 times the limit. 30 times the limit. 35 boundaries. Every time the boundary is broken, Yi Tian's strength increases a bit. In addition, he has integrated so many Yuan Dao ancestors, his foundation potential has been greatly improved, and his physical strength has surpassed other Dao ancestors of the same level. Time flies, and unknowingly, 100 million Yuan epochs have passed since the return of ancient Nest No. 13. I have broken the limit of 55 times, and I have already fused a lot of Yuan Dao ancestor Fu. Compared with the past, my current strength is stronger. I don't know how many times. Even if I play against Kanggu Dao ancestor again, although it is still not his opponent, but he wants to smash my body with one blow, which is almost impossible. Yi Tian is quite self-confident. This Fang's Yuan and Fu, coupled with his own foundational potential, far surpassed Kanggu Daozu. Although everyone understands the ninefold Yuan Dao, the physical strength is different. His 55 times limit may be equivalent to the 70 times of Kanggu Dao ancestor. Next, I have to spend time comprehending the Yuan Dao. This copy body is enough to practice, but other copy bodies can continuously comprehend the endless Yuan Dao. With my current understanding speed, there is really hope that I will be able to reach the 7th level in half a step. The primordial ancestor realm will comprehend the endless Yuan Dao to the small accomplishment realm. If I really do it, then I will be truly invincible in the half-step 7th layer primordial ancestral realm. Then, Yi Tian tempered his body, broke the boundaries, and improved his cultivation. While comprehending the endless primordial Dao, his strength was rapidly improving. Chapter 2198 Primordial Antiquities Sacred Road Monument. Open black lens bracket seeking full order close black lens bracket. As expected of Yuan Dao ancestor Fu, with so many Yuan Dao ancestor Fu, my efficiency in comprehending endless Yuan Dao is countless times higher than in the past. Yi Tian can clearly feel the progress of the endless Yuan Dao now, but in the past, he did not seem to have made any progress in the years of comprehension of the millions of original realms. That's the difference. The golden liquid in those golden drums of primordial spirit can be used to comprehend the endless primordial path, and the effect should be even better. Then, Yi Tian took out some gold liquid and tried refining it to see the effect. A drop of gold liquid enters the mouth and begins refining. During the process of refining the liquid gold, Yi Tian clearly felt that his efficiency in comprehending the endless primordial Dao had improved again. Yes, at least the efficiency can be improved several times. I have realized that the infinite Yuan Dao is almost incredible, and the efficiency can be increased several times. This should be the effect of using the liquid gold completely. 1. Yi Tian took out drop after drop of gold liquid, and the endless Yuan Dao continued to improve. There may still be bottlenecks in other Taoist ancestors comprehending Yuan Dao, and they have not been able to progress for countless years, but Yi Tian has no bottleneck at all, and has been improving all the time. If the process of entering Yuan Dao to Shaocheng realm is divided into early stage, middle stage, late stage and peak realm. Now, Yi Tian is at the peak of the mid-entry level and is about to reach the late entry level. Don't underestimate this small step, it is a huge improvement for the Taoist ancestors. Just when Yi Tian's gold liquid was about to be exhausted, Yi Tian's endless Yuan Dao finally ushered in a small breakthrough. The endless Yuan Dao has entered the late stage of entry. If it is further promoted to the peak of the entry level, it will not be far from the endless Yuan Dao of the minor level. But now that Yuan Dao has progressed, Yi Tian's strength has naturally improved a lot. We have to create top-notch Yuan Dao control skills. Yi Tian has never tried to create the top Yuan Dao control skills, although his 5 control skills are very good, very close to the top Yuan Dao control skills, but after all, it is still a little short. If he were to create a top-notch primordial Dao control technique, his strength would have to be improved. The top Yuan Dao control skills have to be derived from their own life Yuan Dao control skills. Let's create the attack type top Yuan Dao control skills first. I have a strong life-saving ability, and currently I don't need the defense type top Yuan Dao control skills, and don't rush to create. Next, Yi Tian used the endless golden light as a derivative base to create the top Yuan Dao control skills. His endless Yuan Dao has reached the late entry stage, and he has a lot of Yuan Dao ancestors, so it is very easy for him to create top Yuan Dao control skills, and it will not take long. After only a few million Yuan dynasty eras, Yi Tian successfully created a top-notch primordial Dao control technique. Beyond the primordial realm era, above the silent Black Sea, a copy of Yi Tian's body came here to test the power of this new top-notch Yuan Dao control technique. Soon, a primitive artifact appeared. At this time, a golden light appeared on Yi Tian's hand, and the golden light turned into a spear. Yi Tian held a spear and killed that primitive ancient artifact with one blow. As time went by, more and more primitive relics appeared, all of which were instantly killed by Yi Tian with this spear. Finally, a primordial ancient man appeared at the level of the half-step 7-layer primordial ancestor. And Yi Tian still relied on this spear to kill him with one blow. Even the undead primordial Dao ancestor of the original ancients couldn't bear it. The endless golden spear, which is condensed and compressed by endless golden light, is indeed much more powerful than endless golden light. Such an attack has surpassed the power of ordinary top-level Yuan Dao control skills, and I am afraid it is very close to the small perfection level Yuan Dao control skills. Come on. Yi Tian is very satisfied with such top Yuan Dao control skills, and the endless golden spear is also Yi Tian's first top Yuan Dao control skills, and it originated from the endless golden light, and there is still hope that it will be deduced to the small perfection level top Yuan Dao control skills in the future. Yuan Dao control skills are similar to the division of natal extreme Dao control skills. They are divided into ordinary Yuan Dao control skills, top Yuan Dao control skills, small perfection level Yuan Dao control skills, great perfection Yuan Dao control skills and supreme Yuan Dao control skills. And if you want to comprehend the mastery of the Yuan Dao of the small perfection, without comprehending the Yuan Dao of the Shaocheng realm, that is impossible. Therefore, even if Yi Tian spends more time now, it is impossible to create the mastery of the small perfection Yuan Dao. However, the top Yuan Dao control skills are enough. In the years that followed, Yi Tian developed a top-notch primordial Dao control technique, Yuan Dun Extreme Speed, based on the endless extreme speed. Yuan Dun's extreme speed made Yi Tian's speed skyrocket, far exceeding the previous speed. For flowers. Then, Yi Tian created a top-level Yuan Dao controlled technique derived from the endless original body, the ancestor of the 10,000 Dao. Afterwards, he created a top-notch Yuan Dao control technique from the endless black domain, the original Yuan Dao control technique, 9 layers of black domain. In the end, Yi Tian derived from the endless mask and created a top-level Yuan Dao control technique for defense, the colorless mask. The creation of the colorless mask is an accident. This defensive Yuan Dao control technique is very powerful. Once it is displayed, it will form a colorless cover. And this kind of cover is very large, and very thick, just like a field. The enemy's attack hit on top of the colorless light shield, and it was difficult to penetrate, so it could not threaten Yi Tian's body, and could not even form a shock. In addition, the colorless mask cooperates with the 9-layer black domain, and there are special effects. The weaker enemy will be directly crushed by Yi Tian and turned into nothingness. With the creation of these 5 top Yuan Dao control skills, Yi Tian's strength has been improved again. When Yi Tian was cultivating, another big event was about to happen in the vast sea region. Hanhai Palace. At this time, a big man appeared in the Hanhai Palace, the previous palace master of the Hanhai Palace, the current 8-fold ancestor, the Taoist ancestor of the Holy Ape. I have seen the Taoist ancestor of the Holy Ape. I have seen the Taoist ancestor of the Holy Ape. I have seen the Taoist ancestor of the Holy Ape. 1. Several half-step 8-fold ancestors are extremely respectful. Although the Holy Ape Taoist has been away for too long, 1 or 2 half-step 8-fold ancestors have not even seen the Holy Ape Taoist, but they are still extremely respectful. At this time, they were very curious, what did the Holy Ape Daozu, the original ancestor of the 8-fold ancestor, come back to do? After all, the Tao ancestor of the Holy Ape has reached the realm of the 8th level original ancestor, while the boundary of the vast sea region only makes up for the weak in the 8th level. The original antiquities, the monument of the Holy Tao, will appear in the boundary of the vast sea this time, So I am back. This is a very important event, and there will be many Dao ancestors from other districts coming. If one is not handled well, the other a war that spreads across the entire region will break out. The Holy Ape Daozu revealed. As soon as they heard the original Antiquities Holy Road tablet, these half-step eightfold ancestors were shocked to live in their corpses. Chapter 2199 Opportunity and Trouble. Open black lens bracket seeking full order close black lens bracket. Holy Road Monument. This is not an ordinary stele, but a primitive antiquity. It seems to be a stele, but in fact it is an extremely powerful primitive antiquity. They have not seen the original antiquities such as the sacred Dao stele, but they have heard of its legends. The strength of the original Antiquities Holy Road tablet is very powerful, comparable to the original ancestor of the Eightfold, but it is not the ordinary ancestor of the Eightfold. These half-step Eightfold original ancestors, there is absolutely no way to compare with the Holy Road Monument. The Holy Road Monument can crush them with one breath. However, the Holy Path Monument is another big opportunity. The area where the Saint Dao Monument was born will form a special Dao area. The core area is even enough to bring unimaginable benefits to the half-step eightfold original ancestor. If you continue to comprehend and practice there is a chance to comprehend the Yuan Dao of the perfect state, to the limit. Even if you practice in the marginal area, you can improve the 157 realm of Yuan Dao. Precisely because the effect of the Holy Path Monument is too heaven-defying, many forces want to snatch the Holy Path Monument. As for killing the Holy Road Monument, they have no such idea. Killing a stele that is comparable to the eightfold primitive ancestor can still be achieved by many of the top eightfold primordial ancestors. Therefore, many strong people or forces want to imprison the tablet of the Holy Dao and regard it as the trump card of their own forces. Unfortunately, the arrest and imprisonment failed again and again. However, in the beginning, many powerhouses would not kill the Holy Dao Monument, and would only use the Holy Dao Monument to cultivate the half-step eightfold primitive ancestor. Soon after, you can be promoted to the original ancestor of Ye. And before the Holy Path Monument is about to leave, there is a high probability that the eightfold primordial ancestor will take action and kill the Holy Path Monument. Even after the killing, the effect of the Holy Path Monument's shell will drop, but it is still useful. Certainly, the strength of the Holy Path Monument is not weak, and it is not successful every time, and the strength levels of each Holy Path Monument are not uniform. The strength of some Holy Road monuments is very terrifying, and even the fall of the original ancestor of the 8th layer has happened. Last time, there was a Holy Road monument in a certain region, a war broke out, dozens of community circles were destroyed, and a Yafold ancestor fell. Of course, in the end that Holy Road monument fell. Holy Ape Daozu, is this news accurate? The Palace Master Dark Soul Daozu of this session of Hanhai Palace was slightly surprised. His eyes were a little surprised, but he was also a little worried. The Holy Ape Daozu said in a very affirmative tone, "Naturally it is true, to spy on the traces of the Holy Path Monument, it is difficult to say, it is not difficult or difficult. We use a fragment of the Holy Path Monument, plus a piece of only with special primitive ancient treasures can it be determined that a primitive Antiquities Holy Road tablet will appear in the bounds of the vast sea area, but it is still impossible to lock the specific location." Immediately, the Holy Ape Daozu said again, "The appearance of the Holy Dao Monument this time is also a chance for you. I will send you to the vicinity of the Holy Dao Monument for enlightenment. If you are lucky, maybe you will be able to comprehend the ultimate Yuan Dao. However, once the time is up, I will inform you to leave, otherwise once a war breaks out, with your strength, I am afraid that it will be affected. At that time, I will not be able to protect you." "Thank you Holy Ape Daozu." Several half-step eightfold ancestors thanked them one after another. Immediately, the Hanhai Palace was also preparing. Once the sacred Dao monument appeared, they would organize a large number of Dao ancestors to go to enlightenment. In addition, they had to prepare for the outbreak of a war in the entire vast sea region, and how to avoid losses was also something they needed to consider. After all, the Battle of Ye Yuanzu is too terrifying, and a small community can be destroyed with a wave of his hand. Soon, almost all the other major forces in the vast sea region also got the news. Although the background of other major forces is not as good as that of the Hanhai Palace, they have all gone out to the eightfold primordial ancestor. Even if those eightfold primordial ancestors feel that they have no hope of snatching the Sacred Path Monument, they will still pass on the news if they do not participate. Strictly speaking, the stele of the Holy Path is only useful to the Taoist ancestors under the eightfold primitive ancestor, and is useless to the eightfold primordial ancestor. However, his help to a faction is too great, so the original ancestors of many forces want to snatch the Holy Road Monument. No matter how bad it is, they have to kill the Holy Road Monument and snatch the body. In some powerful regions, the fragments of the Holy Road Tablet are of high value and can be exchanged for a lot of resources. Xuanyu Pavilion. Yi Tian received a message from Xuanwang Daozu, so he immediately went to the void where Xuanwang Daozu was, and met Xuanwang Daozu. I have seen Pavilion Master Xuanwang. Yi Tian said respectfully after seeing Xuanwang Daozu. Endless Daozu, I asked you to come this time, because I have a good thing to tell you. Xuanwang Daozu said very seriously. Good thing. Yi Tian pricked his ears and listened. Immediately, Xuanwang Daozu mentioned the Tablet of the Holy Path and talked about the Tablet of the Holy Path. The Endless Dao Ancestor, the news of the Holy Dao Monument has now spread among the major forces. The 7-level ancestors and the half-step 8-level ancestors of the major forces all know the news, and the half-step 7-level ancestors are still unclear. The birth of the Dao Monument is an opportunity, but it is also a trouble. However, we just need to be careful, there is still no major danger. At that time, you can hide in the Xuanyu Pavilion headquarters, and even the battle of the original ancestors of the 8 layers will not spread there. This time, the Holy Dao Monument was born. Although Dao ancestors who have understood the Yuan Dao can enter the Dao domain formed by the Holy Dao Monument, if the strength is weak and the Yuan Dao realm is low, they can only stay in the most marginal areas. Now, the effect of comprehension will naturally not work. And Xuanyu Pavilion is going to focus on cultivating a group of geniuses. I can take you into the Taoist realm of the Holy Taoist Monument, and enter the area where the original ancestors of the 7th level peak can enter. If you understand Yuan Dao, the effect is absolutely very good. Xuanwang Daozu also felt that Yi Tian had great potential, so he cultivated like this. As for the other Taoist ancestors of Xuanyu Pavilion, there is no such treatment. Thank you, Pavilion Master Xuanwang. Yi Tian is also overjoyed. If he could be 5.9 closer to the Holy Dao Monument, with his potential comprehension, the endless Yuan Dao could definitely easily comprehend the level above the Shaocheng realm. This is definitely a great opportunity for him, saving long years of hard work. If he is lucky, maybe he can even approach the Dacheng realm and even directly understand the endless Yuan Dao of the Dacheng realm. Of course, he doesn't know the effect of the Holy Path Monument either, and it's just a guess at the moment. Subsequently, Yi Tian went back and silently waited for the birth of the Holy Path Monument. And this time, in the bounds of the vast sea area, there are 8-level ancestors, some of which are out of bounds, 8-level ancestors, and others 8-level ancestors. For a while, many major forces will let their members keep a low profile, or even retreat, not to run around, so as not to offend a certain Ye ancestor. Chapter 2200 Endless Yuan Dao Shaocheng. Open black lens bracket seeking full order close black lens bracket. A period of time has passed. At this time, Yi Tian broke the limit once again, and now he has broken the limit 56 times, and the endless Yuan Dao has also slightly improved. The boundary of the vast sea area, somewhere in the silent Black Sea. The void here began to twist, and a special force emerged. In an instant, a huge ancient stone tablet gradually emerged, and the power radiated the surrounding territory, turning this place into a special Dao domain. And this ancient stone tablet is the original Antiquities Holy Road Tablet. At the beginning, the Holy Road Tablet was still shaking, but it quickly stabilized. And just after the Holy Path Monument appeared in the bounds of the vast sea, a statue of the eightfold primitive ancestor came and stood at a relatively distant position on the Holy Path Monument. They can't get too close to the tablet of the Holy Way, otherwise so many of the original ancestors of the 8 layers are approaching together, it is very likely to cause a sense of crisis in the tablet of the Holy Way, so they can directly take action. And those half-step 8th level ancestors, 7 level ancestors, and half-step 7 level ancestors are not a threat to the Holy Road Monument at all, so no matter how much they come, they will not cause a reaction from the Holy Road Monument. The tablet of the Holy Dao has begun to absorb the origin of the boundary of the vast sea, and will not move for a short time. 29 Holy Ape Dao Ancestor said. It's a pity that I can't find the old nest of the Holy Path Monument, otherwise, I can find a lot of Holy Path Monuments. I am afraid that there will be a large number of the original ancestors of the 8 layers. Another 8 ancestors said. Forget it, if you really find the lair of the Holy Path Monument, how much will you have to pay to break it? Maybe there is a Holy Path Monument comparable to the level of the 9-fold original ancestor. Another 8-level original ancestor said. It's time to inform other Taoist ancestors and let them come here to practice. Immediately, these eightfold ancestors notified the forces in the vast sea region. In addition, there are other half-step 8-level primitive ancestors from other regions. Although the vast sea region has blocked the boundaries of the region during this period, some 8-level ancestors can still bring some half-step 8-level ancestors. Can't stop it either. Therefore, this time, there are still some 7-level ancestors and half-step 8-level ancestors who entered the boundary of the vast sea. Soon, the Tao ancestors of the great powers came, and Yi Tian also followed the many Tao ancestors of Xuanyu Pavilion. Shish. One by one, the 7-level ancestors entered the most marginal area of the Holy Road Monument, and then tried to go deeper. The pressure and the strange power in the dark made them unable to enter. And Yi Tian entered the Tao domain of the Holy Tao Monument, and felt great pressure, and needed to resist with the power of endless Yuan Tao. If you don't go deep, the pressure is fine, but once you move, the pressure will come, and it will be very difficult to resist the endless Yuan Tao. This Tao domain is a bit weird. It's okay to move, and pressure will come. If you want to go deep into the Tao domain, you have to keep moving, keep going deep, and without a strong strength and a very high Yuan Tao realm, you can't go very far. Yi Tian thought to himself. At this time, Xuanwang Daozu wrapped Yi Tian and several other half-step 7-level ancestors with his strength, and continued to penetrate into the Tao domain. With Zanhuang Daozu's help, Yi Tian easily entered the inner circle of the Holy Tao Monument Tao domain, and was close to the core area. Finally, Yi Tian and Xuanwang Daozu stayed in the same area, and the deeper area was the half-step 8-layer original ancestor where they stayed. At this moment, there are already 1.5 step 8-fold ancestors sitting cross-legged there. So many half-step 8-fold ancestors. Yi Tian saw those figures, and felt a little emotional in his heart. Some of the half-step 8-fold ancestors are not estimated to be the half-step 8-fold ancestors of the vast sea area, but a considerable number of them should be the local half-step 8-fold ancestors of the vast sea area. It is said that there are several half-step 8th-level ancestors in the Hanhai Palace, and there are more or less 1 or even 2 other top powers. It should be, there are probably dozens of half-step 8-level ancestors in the entire vast sea area. This number is not too large. After all, more half-step 8th-level primitive ancestors have left the vast sea area, and now they may not get the news, and naturally they will not come back. You are here to comprehend and practice, don't move, otherwise the consequences will be very serious. Xuanwang Daozu reminded Yi Tian and other half-step 7-level ancestors. Yes, Yi Tian and the other half-step 7-level ancestors responded. Yi Tian didn't care about other things, and immediately began to comprehend and practice. Under the influence of the Holy Path Monument, his comprehension speed was too fast at this moment. What a terrifying effect! I, who have a lot of Yuan Dao ancestors, are here to comprehend the endless Yuan Dao, and the effect is simply against the sky. Yi Tian was soon immersed in cultivation insights, and the progress of the endless Yuan Dao increased rapidly. Years go by. There are countless Taoist ancestors in this Taoist realm. One Taoist ancestor sits cross-legged here. Some Taoist ancestors even compress their body and turn into a particle to comprehend here, so that it does not take up space. After all, there are too many Taoist ancestors in the outermost area, and the densely packed half-step 7-layer primordial ancestors have almost occupied the space. If they don't turn into particles, they have to squeeze with other Taoist ancestors, and maybe conflicts will break out. The middle area is almost all the comprehension and cultivation area of the 7th-layer primitive ancestor. It is not crowded, but it looks like a dense figure from a distance. That is, the area where Yi Tian and the others are located is very spacious. After all, there is no cultivation base of the peak of the 7th-layer primitive ancestor, and they cannot enter here. Gradually, the powerhouses of the vast sea region gathered here, and the scene was incomparably spectacular. Years passed, and one Taoist ancestor realized Yuan Dao here. The outermost Taoist ancestors, the effect of enlightenment is average, and the most core 157 is the half-step 8-fold original ancestor. Yuan Dao has reached the perfect state, and it is extremely difficult to enter the extreme state. Therefore, the progress of these Taoist ancestors will not be fast, only Yi Tian. The speed of progress is simply scary. This day, Yi Tian's endless Yuan Dao finally ushered in a small breakthrough. Endless Yuan Dao has realized the peak of the entry-level realm, so fast, it seems that it won't be long before I can comprehend the endless Yuan Dao of Shaocheng realm. Yi Tian was extremely excited in his heart, but he didn't show it, even the advanced endless Yuan Dao, he hid his breath and didn't reveal it. Therefore, the other Dao ancestors did not know that his Yuan Dao realm had broken through. Another period of time passed, Yi Tian's head finally broke through again, and it was still a breakthrough. Boom! Endless Yuan Dao is transforming, from the peak of entry to the realm of small achievement. You must know that many of the peak of the 7th layer primordial ancestor, the weaker ones, are also of the Yuan Dao Shaocheng. And Yi Tian comprehends the ninefold Yuan Dao, so it is even more difficult to cultivate and comprehend, and the difficulty factor is not at the same level at all. But even so, Yi Tian realized the endless Yuan Dao to the realm of small achievement so quickly. It seems that this time there is hope to comprehend the endless Yuan Dao to the Dacheng realm at one time. Yi Tian said expectantly.